What is up, Rally Towel Sports family? Good evening and welcome to the show. Got your NFL Week 10 picks. We'll talk about Week 9, dig into all of it. For those of you that are catching this after the fact on Spotify, Apple Music, thank you for listening. Even if you can't catch us live. If you can catch us live every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. usually, except for when I'm running behind. So my sincerest apologies, chat. I'll try to be better next time. Gentlemen,
you got this, Bobby.
How we doing?
Really doing all right. I mean, we're all AFC North fans, so we're doing great.
Yeah.
We're chilling.
Yeah,
we are definitely chilling, man.
Football context, I had a real nice weekend. Just a real nice weekend. Cats win on Saturday. Bengals win on Sunday.
Yeah, so let's not talk about Saturday. I had to watch a 2-5 team beat Florida at home in overtime. So that was cool.
That was a weird game.
Arkansas, I don't think is as good or as bad as their record indicates. I think I had some preseason, like this could be a sleeper team out of Arkansas.
Yeah, last year they were top 10 to start the year.
Yeah,
and they faltered out.
Real quick, guys. Josh, Tez, thank you for the likes. Tez, how are you feeling? We hope you're feeling better. Obviously, last week we know you're a little down and out, obviously in the hospital. So let us know how you're doing, big dog.
Yeah, man.
Love you, Tez.
Also got your picks. You had a decent week. So you guys want to talk anything else on Saturday? Do you guys want to go ahead and dive in?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is a punk-ass bitch.
Caleb Williams absolutely draft stock down big time. I mean, is that even a debate at this point?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like AMC when it crashed. You know, it was hot for a second and then it's worthless. So,
Stonks.
I just look. I respect passion to the game, but
to an extent,
yeah, like don't cry.
I don't really care.
As a 22-year-old man, don't cry. Don't cry after.
I mean, if you're so let's say you're not in a quarterback needy team as a Browns fan, but like let's say you're a Cardinals fan and you're watching that, you're like, all right, well I'm out.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, right.
No, not really. That doesn't. No? Like honestly, that affects zero.
What? I disagree just in the fact that like what champion or like what successful quarterback, even if they weren't successful in college, ever did that.
Yeah, I think there's a maturity level to that too. Like
I did that in fourth grade.
Sure. Like when we lost the Super Bowl, I'm sure you and I both cried. Right?
Yeah. It was a heartbreak.
That was a tough one. That was a tough one.
Yeah. That to be fair, never played in a game remotely as important as a young 20-year-old. So I guess there is that. I had never compete at that level at that age. So yeah, I don't know, man. It just didn't sit. I don't know, kind of weird.
Yeah.
Just like full body, like just full body crying.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand being frustrated in the context of like you're putting up 40 plus a game and you've already lost 4 times. Like I get why you're mad.
What a loser!
Do what the rest of these young college athletes do. Go on Twitter and just blast everybody. I'd much rather see him go on a tirade on Twitter.
Yeah, take USC out of your bio.
Yeah.
What a normal person does. Passive aggressiveness. Come on, Caleb.
Keyboard warrior. Be a keyboard warrior. Don't cry. Don't cry on national television.
All right, boys.
Let's hear it, Bob. What do we do?
Dive in.
How bad did I do?
Last week, Corey, you were the lowest, but it wasn't a terrible week for you. It just wasn't a great week. Couple surprising games last week. Like I didn't expect the Jets to get shellacked by the Chargers. You know, I didn't think that was going to be that big of a difference. Zach Wilson looked fantastic for those of you that watched that game.
The Chargers defense single-handedly won me my fantasy matchup. I was down 20.
I lost because of the Chargers defense.
Down 20.
4 recovered fumbles, right? Or 3, something crazy.
And they scored, didn't they?
In a defense, yeah.
It's tight.
Yeah, not a good week if you're going against the Chargers D. Let's see here. The Vikings upset the Falcons. I think we can call that an upset.
Yeah. I mean,
And,
shout out to Dobbs, man. I mean,
Pasternak.
just playing absolute backyard football.
Yeah.
Drawing up plays in the dirt.
It was pretty sick. It was pretty
I hate-
sick just to watch him maneuver in real time like that. And Atlanta had no response to it. That was the last 5 minutes of that game. Like that's what I got to watch, and it was very entertaining.
Yeah.
And Vikings fans fully in support. There's been a mass exodus of eyebrows for Vikings fans on Twitter
I did see that.
in full support
Yeah.
of Josh Dobbs. So gotta love
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Trying to I mean, the Ravens absolutely dominated the Seahawks. That was
Yeah,
another
what
game
the
that was
fuck,
just
dude?
Unreal. Like Seahawks, they just, I don't know. That was it 38-3 or something?
Ravens
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, Ravens
Yeah.
good.
They're very good. Trying to think any other crazy
Disgusting.
games that were out there. I mean, I think
the
everything else.
Texans beating the Bucks in the last 40.
Yeah, I
minutes
mean,
of
that
the
was-
game.
Sorry,
like,
coming
CJ
back.
Stroud,
Game of the
470
year.
yards passing and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, insane.
Unbelievable. Two rookies getting it done on the last drive. Him and Tank Dell. So,
Yeah,
Texans got a good one there. So, all right. So we had two people tied for the best record last week. That was Aaron at 12-2, and Pops at 12-2.
Nice.
And it's funny, you both missed different games. Pops was the only one that took the Vikings,
Wow.
which that's some incredible foresight. And then he missed the Giants game, or the Giants Raiders. Raiders, did exactly what we thought they were going to do last week.
I was all over that one.
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce got that dog in him, baby.
Also,
so you
I
guys
love
were-
the move of having the guys from the practice squad on the
Dude,
sideline.
fuck yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think you
dude.
sent me that TikTok, Bob.
Yeah, I did.
Absolutely phenomenal. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. They
It's
earned
like
it.
these guys-
They earned the right to be there.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
thought
love
that was
filling
great.
up the side. That filling up the sideline is a big dick move, in my opinion.
It's like when you roll up to a high school game with 6 buses, you're only starting half of a bus.
Yeah,
The JV team's dressed out there as well. They're trying to
Absolutely.
play, but
And big freshmen.
right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a big dick move. I like it a lot.
Yeah, just rolling deep. So Aaron Pops 12-2. Quite a few people at 10-4 this week. Josh, Tez, myself, and Todd, all at 10-4, and Corey was the lone wolf down at 9-5.
So Aaron took a 1-game lead on me.
One
All right.
game lead. Yeah, so Aaron.
Perfect weekend coming from Daddy. Just letting you know.
Aaron is currently sitting at 90-46. Corey is behind at 89-47, 1 game back. I am sitting at 85-51, which is 5 games back. Todd is at 8 games back at 82-54.
Hmm.
Records for the
week.
chat.
Felt good.
Josh is 54-34. Tez is 52-36. So Josh has a 2-game lead on Tez. And then Pops, you just missed 1 week, so I can't really compare you to Josh and Tez.
You do percentage score for the chat.
Yeah,
percentage,
47 and 25. So pretty solid record there as well.
You know what that tells me? Nobody's bad at picking games that watches the show or is
Yeah,
part of the show.
we've all done a
Everybody
pretty
does
nice job.
fucking Good job. Yeah.
Yeah,
what were
I
the
mean,
two I had wrong? I obviously had Vikings wrong.
You
and then the
missed
other
the Falcons, and then you missed the Buccaneers Texans. You took the Bucs.
Yes, yeah, because remember I flip flopped on the
Yep.
the Packers.
You did.
was very
You
happy
son of a
about that.
bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, the first flip flop actually ended up working out for him.
that
So,
never happens, and it'll never happen again. So
well, I'm glad I didn't flip flop in response. I'll just put it that way. All right, well let's
Well, should we-
dive in here. Tomorrow night. This is just an incredible,
fucking
incredible
stupid.
masterpiece of a game that we're gonna watch tomorrow night.
Stupid.
And by that, I mean this is going to be if you have other plans Thursday night, just stick to those plans. It's the Carolina Panthers headed up to Chicago to take on the Bears. Now, I guess I have questions. Who's starting at quarterback for the Bears?
Badger back out there again.
is that
So-
official yet? I don't think. it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
it
they,
is? Okay.
yeah. I saw this afternoon on Twitter. Badgett will be the starter again for the Bears. Justin Fields has been very limited in practice this week, obviously coming back from the dislocated thumb. So,
British, what's
boy.
going on? It's a beautiful Thursday. You got the Bears. Nice. You went 9-5 last week, British. 9-5. So
British being a big Bears fan, so Sorry.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Todd, go ahead and lead us off, man. Who you got? Panthers.
Well,
Bears.
fellas, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell everybody. I'm a very loyal husband. I love my wife very much, so much so that
What'd you do?
I gave yeah. Boy, I'm not telling everybody that. I decided to. I phoned in a friend this week, fellas. That friend being my lovely wife, Mary. I said, Mary, I'm in a situation where I'm not cutting it. So I need to bring in the big.
She's like, you're talking about the picks, right? Like she had
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Well, we got to that. That was like the third or fourth thing. We went through a couple things before that. Turned into a longer
Self-improvement.
conversation.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. So
Got it.
the righty. I called the righty in. I said, Mary, give me some help. I said, I a little too eager yesterday in the group chat. I'll be transparent. I was like, I got my picks for tonight. Corey's like, tonight? What the fuck's wrong with this guy?
Well, I have thought it's consistently been a day later in the week than it has. It was the longest Monday in the history of Mondays because I was so fucking hungover on Monday morning. I started drinking at 12:30 and put down 6 to 10 Busch lattes and then commenced the evening with a 6-pack of Truth. And I was a terrible human being the next day. Just a miserable excuse for a dad. And but we got through it. So go on, Ted. Sorry.
No. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna give the pick, and then I asked Mary for a little bit of logic, and I think that's a little special treat for everybody.
I love it.
I'm excited.
So she's taking the Bears this week, and the logic being the Panthers suck.
Hey, not bad. So far, so good. So good.
Yeah, batting 1,000.
All right, fantastic. Corey.
My logic isn't that far off for this fucking dumpster fire of a Thursday night. Jesus, we're gonna have some insightful conversations, I'm sure. And for that reason, I just got to go with the home team on a short week. When it's this close, when neither team has really demonstrated any ability to be productive, I'll go to the one that is splashed more, and I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears here too. I mean, again, it's not really a matchup that looks very good on paper. Definitely one I'm not really going to tune too much into. Bagent had some moments in that game that I thought, okay, this guy can play in the NFL. He's semi-mobile. His arm looks okay, but he's going to make rookie mistakes. But it's not like they aren't mistakes I've seen Justin Fields make anyway. So,
right.
It doesn't seem like the offense it's not like it's fallen off a cliff without Fields, like or I guess like a little hill, if you will. But we'll stick with the Bears here. I just don't really like this Panthers team at all. They got their one win to knock off the winless streak, and I don't really know how many more I predict in their future.
I see no reason to fade anybody. You all have made excellent points. I am also taking the Bears. Let's move on. We're not going to spend as much time. We spent more time talking about that game than I will watching it. All right. We've got the next matchup. We're in Germany again this week, correct?
We are in Deutschland.
Okay.
That's
we've got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New England Patriots in Germany. Corey, who you got?
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
This is a tough one for me because I hate both of these teams. That said, I hate the Colts less, and I think that they've consistently been less inconsistent. And it's a backwards way of saying me again. They suck less. Don't really know travel plans on this one. I don't know that I'll actually. This is like a turn it on background noise type game. Maybe throw it up on the phone and get some stuff done around the house on a Sunday morning type deal. I might even
kiddos.
Yeah, one of those type deals. I'm going with the Colts.
All right. Aaron.
I just don't trust this New England offense at all. Indianapolis certainly doesn't have that phenomenal of a defense, but hey, they showed up. They showed up when it counted last week against the Panthers. the Colts have scored 20 or more points. I believe it's 22 or more points in every single game this year. I just don't see New England being able to keep pace with them on offense. It's kind of one of those games where it's once the Colts get to 17, I think it's pretty much over because New England hasn't really showed themselves to be able to compete with anyone or contend with anyone on offense. So we'll stick with the Colts here for sure.
Todd, with Mary's pick.
Yeah, Mary's got the Colts here, and just a very simple statement here is that the Patriots are bums. Something interesting that I'm heard. Yeah, she's been batting 1,000 still, kind of like a Wade Boggs on a plane back kind of situation for Mary, just firing on all cylinders. Something I've read on social media a couple. Thank you. I've read on social media a couple different times over the last 24 hours is that it's not out of the realm of possibility that Bill Belichick comes back from Germany without a job. That's been the speculation, and I've seen it a couple different times that it's being tossed around that if the Patriots are 2-8 coming back from Germany, that they may fire him or relieve him. So I believe that they are like a week. Let me double check that. They might be on a bye next week.
I struggle with that because I don't know. I just feel like that's
Patriots play the Cowboys next week.
That's fucked up.
I lied.
No, yeah, they're on a bye. They're on a week 11 bye.
So that's where that's coming from. I just think that's fucked up. I honestly think that he's your head coach through 6 Super Bowls. Yeah, you've been rocky. You knew that was coming at some point. I don't necessarily see what head coach is riding through this situation smoothly. I guess is right. Sure. Like if a different person is there, how is this different? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they could have 0 wins if it's a different coach. That roster's tough.
That said, I think that Bill Belichick absolutely needs to be done after this season.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's fire him on the plane ride home type shit.
Right. Well, and the thing I read is
brutal.
that they've had Gerard Mayo kind of in the wings waiting to become the head coach in New England. He's I believe he's their linebackers coach right now. I mean, it would make sense based on the position he played, but that's where this is coming from is that Gerard Mayo has been ready for 2 years and been being groomed to take over the head coaching role. And what time better to take over a team than when it's at the lowest it's been in 25 years. Right.
Yeah, get him some reps. Get him some reps in during the season, so he at least gets some action and knows what it's like. I don't know. Like I understand the logic behind it. I don't like it, but
right. So I'm with Corey. Like this guy, 6 Super Bowls. They were a winning team for 2 decades. Really, you look at in his time frame, and like I'm not saying he deserves to have a victory lap next season and get the Miguel Cabrera treatment, but like you got to let him finish out the year and give him the opportunity to resign from his duties, right? I don't think it's a termination situation. Let him resign and get the kudos that he deserves. But I just think it's interesting. It's being brought up.
If your plan is to get this guy in the wings some reps, you can do that without removing the head coach. You can implement things in the back room that allow this guy to assume more of the head coaching duties. If this is if he's been tapped as the next guy, like you can do things without embarrassing a legend, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely.
Ring of Honor, whatever you want to say. All the accolades are there for Bill Belichick. Obviously, it's just there's certain things that you can do, but I do think the time has come. Obviously, the league has moved beyond him, and I think that that's okay to say that. It's not a knock to him. I think it's a natural progression for the way that things go in life, generally speaking.
Yep. Taz coming in with a comment. I don't think they will ever fire Belichick. I think they would talk him into resigning. But with what he's done in New England, I don't see them firing him. Arguably the greatest coach their organization has ever had. Not arguably, he is the greatest coach their organization has ever had.
Any organization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing, though, is Belichick is – he's got a big of an ego as anybody. And I hear you in terms of, they might not fire him, but he's also going for, the all-time wins record for coaching.
Sure.
So it'd be easy to say.
How far away is he?
He's pretty close. I think he's about, I can pull that up right now. If you guys want to keep talking, I'll pull
Is
this
it like,
up.
are you like double digits or are we like a couple wins away type thing?
Don Shula holds the record currently at 347. Belichick is the active leader at 300.
Oh, yeah, that's
There's
not happening.
Way.
It's not happening.
He'd have to coach it until he was.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, when he was putting together 11 win plus seasons, you're talking
Yeah, it
about
wasn't far-fetched.
3-4 years, but now it's
Yeah.
really not. The funny thing too is he's also on pace for the most losses. Now, of course, you need to be gainfully employed for long enough to even contend for that record. So I don't really view that as, necessarily a knock, if you will.
Like Brett Favre.
Yeah, exactly. For the
most career
interceptions,
picks.
right?
Yeah.
So
I think,
I'm
I
trying
think
to-
Roethlisberger is up there.
300 wins. Okay.
Probably.
On-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
What are you doing? He already did the math.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was wrong.
That's what I was saying. I was seeing something.
He's at
different.
331.
Oh, okay.
That's but here's the thing. That's including postseason.
Okay,
And,
yeah,
and,
Shula's
for
record.
Shula's record does include postseason. So I apologize. I was
Oh,
giving you.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
why I was a little confused.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's
right.
what, 16 off the tie?
Yeah. So it's very doable.
It's doable within a couple of years. Obviously.
What if he went to I'm trying to think of he would need to go to a team that's got a good quarterback infrastructure. I'm thinking like the Chargers,
I was going to say L.A.
because somebody who's getting ready to probably fire their coach,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but still has some bones there.
I can see him
Yeah.
going out there doing like a little, victory lap like Brady did with a different team to round out
Yeah.
his career.
Yeah.
well, he would, if he were to win a Super Bowl somewhere else too, it'd be kind of similar to what Brady did in terms of,
Yeah.
this guy still got it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
All right, I'm not going to waste any more time on this game. I got the Colts. I'm not. I see absolutely no reason to fade you guys on this one either. The chat and the panel are all collectively in agreement on the first two games,
Yow.
so we're all on the same page. Let's keep riding. Aaron, we got a divisional matchup here up next.
Yeah.
Browns taking on the Ravens in Baltimore.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
I mean, there's a couple
Lead us
different
off.
ways that this game can go. I mean, listen, the Browns defense just absolutely showed out last week. Now, granted, it was against, Tune and the Cardinals, but what do you want a defense to do when they're playing a game like that? Absolutely show pure and utter domination. They gave up
TCB.
like 55 yards and they didn't let the Cardinals get past their own 40-yard line. Okay. So it wasn't just, all right, well, because it's damned if you do, damned if you don't in a game like that, if they don't
Yeah.
completely dominate.
I
And they
almost
completely
texted you. I was like, at like midway through the third quarter, I was like, Aaron, you chilling, bruh?
I was
Like,
very chill. I was pretty aggressively hungover Sunday, so it was pretty great to not have to
Attaboy.
pay attention at all. It was kind of a nice little, keep your feet up kind of game as opposed to being completely invested in it. So I was
sweatpants
very,
and a water.
yeah, exactly. I had a Gatorade, a giant jug of water, and yeah, it was great. Some sweatpants. Listen, I mean, the Ravens right now have an argument for being the best team in football, I would say currently. Their defense is playing at just as high a level as the Browns are. The one thing I'll say, though, that it was at least nice and why I think it was very, very important for Deshaun to play last week was because you needed him to kick the rust off against the Cardinals as opposed to trying to do that against the Ravens. Deshaun played great, actually. I mean, he had, two throws in particular where, his, what he excelled at in Houston was his downfield accuracy. There was two throws to Amari Cooper last week, and the second one being literally right in the basket, about 50 yards downfield, not needing to break stride, anything like that. I don't necessarily know what Deshaun I'm going to get on Sunday. I have to go with the Ravens because they're just playing an elite level of football currently. But in terms of how the Browns can win this game, it is on defense. If that defense can get a score, if they can keep, we obviously had a terrible first game against the Ravens, but, DTR didn't know he was playing in that game until about an hour and a half prior to it. So I kind of throw that one out the window. But, the way that their run defense is playing right now in Baltimore, it's going to be very, very difficult. Not to mention it's in Baltimore. But I will say, if the Browns do somehow pull this one out, it's going to be very interesting in how we dissect the rest of the AFC North, because I think everybody is already, putting in pen this one as a loss. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. The spread right now is 6 points. I think the Browns can cover that. And I also think this is going to be a very, very close game, wire to wire. But it's really, really hard to win in Baltimore, and especially the way that those two defenses are playing. This is going to just be a classic, mud wrestling AFC North game.
Yeah,
Nice.
hammer the under in this game. Hammer the under. Like,
I think
these two
Vegas
teams-
already did. It's at 38.5. It's going to be like
Really? Damn.
That's tough. But yeah, I'll take this one next, guys. This is going to be a classic AFC North showdown, man. Like, this is going to be such a heavily defensive matchup, a lot of ground game. That's where the Ravens actually excelled last week. And it was with a guy off the practice squad who had one touch in a game prior to ever getting multiple snaps, and he ended up going for over 100. And how many touchdowns? 1 or 2?
who did
The Ravens running back?
Gus?
No,
two.
the other guy.
Oh,
the other guy.
I think he only had one, but he had
Keegan
like one.
Mitchell.
He had like
Keegan
120 on
Mitchell.
the ground. A lot of
Yeah.
that was, the game was so over so early. Like, not to
Yeah.
call it garbage time,
But
but
it was kind of like what the Dolphins did against the Broncos, where every running back had 100 yards.
right, exactly. They're like, hey, now's a good time to get this guy some experience and touches.
Sure. But yeah, I'm interested to see this matchup. Like I said, Aaron said, this is going to be close. This is going to be a close game. It's going to be a really fun game to watch. Probably one of the best ones of the day, if not the best. I'm still taking the Ravens here. Just track record wise, they're firing on all cylinders right now. And if the Browns have any hope, they have to hope Deshaun plays the game of his life.
Yeah, or again, the defense is good enough to win though too.
Yeah, but the Ravens are going to put up points. The Cleveland offense is going to have to do something, and Deshaun's going to have to figure it out. So I think he is still we know what the Browns defense is capable of, and that's great. That's a great thing to have in your back pocket. But the offense still going to have to put up points to win. So
Big thing I didn't mention too though is Jed Wills, left tackle, going on IR. Surprisingly, not out for the season.
Yeah, just an MCL sprain on that.
Yeah, it looked like a season
It
ender,
looked
and
bad. I think
and
he
Brown-
even thought so.
yeah, I know, and even Browns fans have kind of been dogging. He's average, but average is so much better than replacement level in the NFL at left tackle. So I think that'll be a big part of this as well. The offense is likely going to struggle, so it'll be interesting to see how Kevin can scheme that up. But for whatever reason, the Browns will play pretty, decently against the Ravens historically, or at least the last couple of years. But yeah, the Ravens are just, like I said, I think they have an argument maybe outside of Philly as being number one in the power rankings.
Todd, who's Mary got?
So Mary's got the Ravens. Mary's got the Ravens. She says Lamar over Deshaun. I'm going to add a little bit of insight on where I agree with her. And Aaron just brought up my point. I believe the left tackle starting for the Browns, this will be his first start in his NFL career. James Hudson from the University of Cincinnati, right?
I don't believe so. No, there was.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like a 1 or 2 game, and I
Okay.
think he's had to slide over at right tackle a couple times too.
Okay. So my concern is that the Ravens lead the league in sacks at 35 sacks through 9 weeks.
Wow.
And Aaron just said that the difference between a starting left tackle and a second string left tackle in the NFL is pretty significant. And this is a team that gets to the quarterback pretty consistently. So I just assume that's my gauge of this game, is that the Ravens just bring a ton of pressure on Deshaun and force him to make quick decisions rather than setting up a play to letting him Aaron talked about his ability to move the ball downfield or make the big play. I don't think that's going to be an option for Deshaun very often in this game. And it's going to require a lot of relief from the run game from Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. And, the Ravens only give up 250 yards a game too. So I'm pure, I agree. I think between the two quarterbacks, Mary's correct. But I think more than anything, I just think that this is for any team, this is a tall task. And, I just haven't seen the consistency out of the Browns offense to say that I could take the Browns offense over the Ravens defense. If I'm making the pick, I should say.
Gotcha. Corey.
Yeah, before tonight, as I was going through and making my picks, I knew Aaron was probably going to jump me in the standings, and I was like kind of, earmarking a couple of games where I thought I'd be able to fade Aaron here, and I thought this was going to be one of them. I thought maybe he thought he was going to zag where we zigged here, and he'd take the Browns, but I got a false suit here with everybody. It looks like us in the chat are going to be flush through these picks right now. But yeah, I'm with the Ravens. There's not too many more points that I can make right now, other than that I will agree with Aaron in the fact that I think the Browns cover here. I think this is a field goal or a down 4, lose with the ball in your hand, so the other team takes a knee as it goes out type game. The under, I don't know about that.
It's just a stay away.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. But I think the Browns, if I'm getting an even 6 here, I like that a lot. And I would take the Browns to cover, but I am going to take Baltimore in this one.
I'd be happy to be wrong here, guys. And I'm sure
to be wrong.
I was going to say, I'm sure equally you guys would as well.
Fuck
Yeah,
them.
Yeah, we would all love that. I would take an L on that 10 days out of 10. So another AFC North combatant
Game.
in the next matchup here. I was gonna say it's not a AFC North game because there's not two people going, but we got the Packers headed to Heinz Field, take on the Steelers. I imagine we're all probably gonna be pretty, linear on this one as well, with the way the Packers have been playing lately. Corey, lead us off. You got?
They're bad and it's awesome. The Packers suck. It's sweet. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm going with the Steelers here. Like I don't see this offense moving the ball on Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett needs to figure out how the fuck to play in the first 3 quarters. I'll say that. Obviously, Mike Tomlin defending him this week in a press conference. Ooh, what's his passer rating in the 4th quarter? Well, that's all good and well, but let's figure out the first 3. Okay, let's put yourselves in a position to where you don't have to be. Yeah, let's not put ourselves behind the 8 ball going into the 4th quarter. But things that concern me about Kenny Pickett, I think he's top 5 in the league in uncatchable passes. There's just a couple of them that he's throwing that you're like, what the fuck, dude? Missing high, and I wonder if that has to do with the rib cage. I don't know if it was the right side of his ribs that were injured, but I would just assume like coming down on the ball to the release point might be uncomfortable if he has that rib injury to where like he's letting go of the ball early in his release, causing them to sail a little bit. Because when I watched that game, what I did notice is when he is missing, he's missing high quite often. Yeah. So I wonder if that has anything to do with that. But they're the better team. Pittsburgh's the better team. Not much more, I believe, Packers going on the road, going into Pittsburgh. That's not easy for anybody, let alone a subpar quarterback. So give me the Steelers here.
Yeah, it's a tough environment to play in, especially if you're a team that's not playing well. So going
got
up
Renegade going in the 4th.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever caught a game in Pittsburgh, but if the Bengals ever playing up there, you guys
they do every year, Bobby. What do you mean?
I know. I just meant if you like. Never mind. Points gone. It's lost. It's a great place to catch a game.
I plan on it.
Energy's good. Energy's good there.
Where do they call the stadium now?
NRG is actually Houston.
Yeah, Acrisure is what it's called. It's Heinz Field. It's Heinz Field, boys. Just like it's Paul Brown. So
it's Paycor. I like Paycor. I like it.
Do you?
The roar at Paycor. I love it. I don't know.
Well, Paycor is also a Cincinnati-based company too, so it's not like
it makes sense.
I get it.
It's not Fair like enough. Heineken Field or something.
I got the Steelers here. I've got the Steelers here. That defense is going to be. It's just too tough of a matchup for the Packers and what they've been able to accomplish this season so far. Todd, Mary's pick.
Fellas,
I love that you keep calling it Mary's pick. I love it.
I'm not. I gave her no guidance. I asked her to take her time, make her decisions on her own.
I hope she's right.
She took the Packers, boys. And when I said, "What's the logic?" She said, "I really hate the Steelers, and this helps the Bengals." And I said, "Okie dokie."
Solid.
I mean, I understand it.
Tell us the path to victory for the Packers then.
Yeah.
Let's talk that out.
Sure. So, number one, it's going to be capitalizing on the Steelers not being able to move the ball early in the game. I think we've equally watched the Steelers as this season's gone on, and the thing that I watched the most, and Bobby and I have corresponded a little bit of this on our own, is first drive starts off hot, usually ends in 3, and then nothing happens again until there's less than 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter for Pittsburgh's offense, and
I'm just stressing the entire time.
And I think what can happen here, if for the Packers to win, is that they have the ability to create turnovers in the secondary with what they present. Right, I don't foresee them providing a ton of pressure. I did give Carl Brooks, former Falcon, some flowers this week in that Rams game. His name was called out several times. I think that he was probably the largest impact player on that defensive line, and that's a 6th-round rookie. And that's what the Packers kind of have to throw out based on injuries. But, they do have Jair Alexander. I think that he can, based on the Steelers' offense, there's a lot of just forcing the ball in based on the way the play is called. Maybe you can get a couple takeaways, get good field position, and hope that the other Carlson brother can make field goals.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I got.
Fair enough. Hey, Ron.
I'm a little closer to picking the Packers than I originally anticipated. I don't know that I necessarily can, but listen, like we keep talking about the Steelers defense. They're the 2nd worst team in yards per game this year, only behind the Denver Broncos. It's not like, I know they're getting timely plays. They're getting interceptions. They're getting fumble recoveries. They have the big name players that make big name plays, but I feel like the team as a whole isn't really playing that phenomenally. And of course, when you have, an offense that isn't necessarily going to put teams away either, you're asking your defense to be on the field a lot, which of course is probably going to contribute to the reason that they are giving up that many yards per game. We haven't seen it out of Jordan Love. I haven't really seen it out of anybody else here in Green Bay, but I'm also looking here at my picks for this week, and I'm tending to a lot of favorites. I'm gonna take the flyer on the Packers this week.
Let's go, baby.
I just Pittsburgh is they really do remind me so much of what we saw out of the Vikings last year, and I would say at this point in the year, I kind of have to give Coach of the Year to Tomlin just because of the way that they are pulling these wins out of their ass.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I don't think this team is like. If they didn't have Tomlin as their coach, I don't think that they have the record that they do. There's something in the United States Constitution that says that the Steelers aren't allowed to go worse than 500, I believe. And I think we need to rectify it. Like it's just
an amendment.
Yeah, I need to amend that.
I do not want to amend that.
I just
hear he.
It's rare that you go through an entire schedule and go favorite. And there's a lot of other ones this week that I can't bring myself to doing it. Yeah, I can see a world where the Packers win this game. And it just has to do with the fact that, that Kenny Pickett's growing frustrated, and then, or George Pickens is growing frustrated. And I'm pretty sure Pickett hasn't had a game yet where he's thrown more than one touchdown. I don't love the running backs in Pittsburgh. Again, I think the defense is overrated in terms of the production that we've seen week in and week out. They have guys, like, don't get me wrong. Like, there are guys that are absolutely game breakers. So I think that's the reason that, we kind of fall into this trap of saying, the defense will keep bailing them out. I think at some point in time, the levee has to break the other way here. And I think this is a game where it can happen.
Well, your comment about the running backs in Pittsburgh, I disagree with that. I think Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris are both solid running backs. I think the lack of like two dimensions in their offense makes them not great or not look as good because that offense is strictly one dimensional. That's the only thing they can do somewhat well is run the ball. Their passing game has been atrocious. And anybody, like even Saquon, like he's not good when he's the only thing on the field. Like granted, he's better than them, but you still have to have a two-dimensional game in order for your running backs to have any shreds of success. So
where are you at on Kenny Pickett at this point? Just over halfway through the year. Long term,
obviously well below my expectations, but as far as long term is concerned, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is a Matt Canada driven thing. He just can't wrap his brain around that offense. There's obviously a lack of trust on the offensive side of the ball, whether that's Pickett to Canada to Pickett. There's a disconnect between both of them, and when the rubber meets the road, you got to get rid of the OC and bring somebody else in. I mean, the stats don't lie. He hasn't had a game over 400 yards. I think the entire time that he's been the OC for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and it's completely different, but it's something that I've seen this year. As being a Browns fan, was the difference between Joe Woods and Jim Schwartz.
Sure.
We didn't really change a whole lot on defense in terms of the players that we had, but it's amazing how you can go from being one of the worst defenses in the league to
one of
the best defense in the league. And sometimes it is just that simple.
Yeah. I think there's plenty of offensive weapons there. I still think Pickett has, a decent ceiling.
Johnson being back's huge.
Yeah. Deontay Johnson, he's always been the number one there. I think Pickens has the ability to be a number one if he can get out of his own way and be a team player. But
he's from Georgia, not possible.
But I'm not gonna deny that man needs to get the ball more. He is such a talent. So I mean, it's stupid not to utilize him. For what his catch radius is absolutely unbelievable. But Matt Canada should have been gone 4 weeks ago on our bye week or 3 weeks, whenever.
I don't know. He's on the sideline now, dude. It's chill.
And Charlie, I would acknowledge Charlie's comment. He says, "How about the panel wearing Steeler jerseys the last week if their record is over 500? Every week, Steelers jabs." And take them as jabs if you want. That's your right to take them as jabs. I think they're fair challenges.
Yeah, they're fair challenges. I mean, there's a lot wrong there, and there's like
I told you I give so much credit to Tomlin.
Yeah,
I give so much credit to Tomlin.
He's the reason they're 5-3 right now.
Correct.
He's the reason.
We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. We've been outgained in every single game that we've played, and we're somehow 5-3, sitting second in the division.
And I like Aaron's analogy to the Vikings of last year in that they were a 12-win team with a negative point differential. And that's not what we're seeing right here with Pittsburgh, but it is a similar confusing stat in that they are, as you said, Bobby, outgained. It doesn't translate. They are outgained on offense in every single game, yet they win.
We shouldn't
the
be
wins.
Sitting
a
at
win
5-3.
is a win is a win is a win. You are what your record says.
I'll take
your record. You are what your record says you are, right? Somebody said that. So I think that you give credit to them being 5-3, but I think the credit is not to the guys on the field; it's to the guy with the headset. And so at some point, typically December, January type games, that is exposed because you're playing typically very meaningful games. And then once you get into January football, you're playing against very good teams. So it's just, unless that trend changes, right? Unless the offense awakens by Matt Canada being out of the comforts of the booth above the mezzanine there. I mean, yeah, until that changes, I think these are fair critiques. More so than
they're
jabs.
They're statistic-based observations as well.
Yeah.
It's not a jab if it's a fact. That's the way I see it. It is. I think everything we've talked about have been facts. It's not a jab. There's no discreditation there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think their offense is one-dimensional, and that's why Najee Harris has struggled. That's why Jaylen Warren has struggled, and there's when the rubber meets the road, we got to figure out the passing game. That's the biggest Achilles heel for us right now. Is just throwing the ball. So once we can get that figured out and rolling, I think the Steelers' offense has a completely different look and dynamic. So, but will we figure it out is the question. That remains to be seen. So, all right, moving on. Solid matchup next. We got the 49ers taking things on the road down to Jacksonville. Take on Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. Who wants to lead this one off? Mary
does.
Todd,
Mary
lead
does.
this one off.
Mary does. She picked the 49ers, and she just said one thing. They're due. And I think that's that's one way of looking at this game. You're coming off of 3 losses in a row. You get a bye week to lick your wounds a little bit, right? But you're going in and facing one of the hottest teams in football. If you're looking at the Jags track record right now, and I that was my comeback to her. I was like, well, Jacksonville hasn't lost since they've been to London. And Mary said, they got to lose sometime, right? She said they got to. Basically, that was her comment back was they got to lose sometime. Why not to the 49ers? And then she threw it back like, hey, remember you were talking about how good the defense was going into the Bengals game, blah, 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 blah. We went back and forth on that. I don't think she's super far off. I did.
You went back and forth. It sounds like you might have coached her a little bit in these picks, which is
There's
fine.
No I got right. These are all. I asked her what time? Let's see, about 90 minutes ago to give me your little fact for each pick.
Nice.
So she submits the picks, then the questions come.
She's trying to get dinner on the table and settle down Declan. You're like, hold on, babe, this is important.
I need notes. I need to prepare.
Yeah, I waited until after I gave him a bath. I was like, oh, I gave him a bath. Now tell me everything you're thinking right now. That's what I did.
That's so funny.
But
that's awesome.
And I asked her, I said, what do you think about Brock Purdy? And she said, he's kind of a rookie. He's kind of a rookie, right? We've seen.
Yeah,
I don't hate that.
Yeah,
right.
It's a fair point.
So 3 weeks in a row, we've seen the thing that we talked about him. When the game gets tough, what are his actions or what are his reactions rather? And it's been turnovers, fellas. It's turnovers. That's kind of where we're at. I think that if I were to pick the game, I think I would have picked San Francisco as well. And that's purely me fading the streak of Jacksonville. I think that Jacksonville's had kind of a soft schedule through the wins too. And this is their and they're coming off a bye week as well.
Yep.
And I do believe that Deebo Samuel's back this week. At least he's been participating in practice.
He also mentioned Trent Williams is back this week for the Niners as well. Those two would be huge additions to play a part in the outcome of this game.
Yeah. And look, I think that this is a good test for Trevor Lawrence. I think that's the main thing for me. This is a good test for Trevor Lawrence and that Jaguars offensive line that's been getting touted a little bit more every week as we've watched ETN have consecutive good games right on the ground. I mean, he's had over 100 yards of total offense, I believe, since week 3. So this to me, fellas, I think this is the best matchup of the week. It's gonna be saucy, but I think I would have sided with Mary here. I think I would have picked the 49ers if I was picking my own too, just to fade the streak.
All right. Well, let's turn it over to the fade the street expert, Mr. Corey James.
Yeah. So let's go. This is a tough one, man. I agree with you, Todd. I think this is the best matchup in of the week, rather. And I think you alluded to the point that I'm going to try and talk a little bit about here. I think it really comes down to the running game here. I know we talk about running backs specifically not being a huge impact in teams winning Super Bowls, but I do think running game here is a big part of that. And I think the Niners are getting a huge piece of it back in Deebo if he's trending in the direction that he appears to be, which he was practicing today for the 49ers. So guess what? We're looking at 2 of the top 2 rushing defenses in the leagues right now. The Jags giving up 79 yards per game, having allowed 5 rushing touchdowns. The 49ers giving up 86 yards per game, but only have giving up 4 rushing touchdowns. So yards, touchdowns, you could just say those cancel out. These are the top 2, top 5, 2 of the top 5 rush defenses in the league with the Jags and Niners here. Christian McCaffrey going for the record, I believe, in terms of consecutive touchdowns. I think you have to lay an anytime touchdown bet on him as long as you get plus odds on this one.
I got mine in.
You won't. I'm just telling you, you will not get plus odds.
Have you looked?
You might get plus
you haven't
odds
been able to get plus odds on him in weeks.
Plus 100? Not even odds on a McCaffrey touchdown?
No,
we'll look at it later.
Sure.
We'll look at it later.
For 2 teddies.
Look, I think this is a potential Super Bowl matchup. In all honesty, I mean, at the beginning, are we not putting the Jaguars in the conversation in the upper echelon in the AFC? I think we have to at this point. I think when you look at the NFC, you have to put the Niners up there as well. Even they're on a 3-game skid. it's a hell of a lot better to have this skid right now than it is in November, December, right? Well, I know we're in November now, but the skid didn't take place then. So let's get a fucking calendar. It's gonna be a great matchup. Great head coaches, quarterbacks that have played okay. One is trending up, one is trending down. 2 running backs that are great. 1 defense that is great. 1 defense that's pretty good. Trent Williams coming off the injury report. That's fantastic news for the Niners. He's going against the best Josh Allen in football, though, for the Jaguars. So that's going to be interesting. I like one head coach a little bit more than the other, but they're both fantastic, and that's going to lead me to take the 49ers in this one.
Aaron.
Yeah, we don't have anything on anytime touchdown scores yet, but McCaffrey has been consistently like minus 120, 130 range for the last several weeks. So I would very much doubt it. Interesting thing, though, of the running backs that are healthy, you could argue that you have the 2 best in this game, or the way that Etienne's been playing and the way that McCaffrey obviously has been playing. Interesting stat I wanted to pull out just for the fellas here. Kyle Shanahan's record after the bye week, not just the game after, but the 49ers as a whole, is 36-16, being the 49ers coach. The 49ers total record after the bye week. Their record prior to the bye week in his tenure is 16-30. The 49ers tend to play consistently better. They reel it in. They really check the tape and they kind of readjust their game plan moving forward here. I got to go with the 49ers. I just can't see this team losing 4 in a row. Just dial it back 3 weeks prior, and we're talking about this team as the best team in the league. They've had some losses that, frankly, probably shouldn't have happened. If this game is not put in the kicker's hands, I think the 49ers can win this one, no problem. It's kind of a, this is how the NFL works, right? When a team is trajectory way up, like the Jaguars are, there tends to be a little bit of a bump there because I don't think either of these teams are, like we're saying here with the Ravens or the Eagles, where they're just, I can see them just kind of keep going on through the season with no breaks. I think both of these teams are going to be right there, Corey, to your point, if this could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. I'd love to see the odds on that because I don't think it's a terrible bet, but I would be surprised if that happened just because, there are some better teams, but I like where your head's at, that this is, these are 2 teams that are, in my opinion,
upper echelon teams.
Yeah, they're both of them are playoff bound, like no doubt. And I think the 49ers have to get it right here. I think they spent that bye week, really figuring things out. And like I said, the 49ers consistently play better football post the bye week under Kyle Shanahan. I'll take the 49ers here, and I think it can be close. I think it should be close. I think the Jaguars deserve to have the conversation about them, why they can win this game, and they certainly can. But it's just hard for me to pick the 49ers to lose 4 in a row.
Yeah, so I mean, we're kind of coming off the back end of the Browns damage that they did to the 49ers. That game against that.
You're welcome.
Browns.
Yeah,
brutal.
Thank you.
They suffered a lot, and there's a lot. Obviously, the last 3 weeks, you've seen what that damage did to the 49ers. It threw them all off their game. So this is a get right game for the 49ers. I know you guys think this one's going to be close. I do not think this game is going to be that close.
Do you think the Jags are a bit fraudulent? The Jags are a bit fraudulent? Is that what I'm hearing?
I
or
think,
just that high on the Niners?
I'm that high on the Niners this week. I think, it's going to be.
So you didn't waste any time when that amendment passed last night. You got real high on the Niners. I got you.
Yes, very, very, extremely. Yeah, taking the Niners here. Whatever.
To be fair, one thing we haven't mentioned too is the Jaguars are also coming off of a bye.
I'd be interested to hear what their stats are off a bye and into a bye.
Give me Doug Peterson's record off a bye.
I'll give it to
you.
If
you can pull that.
Give me Dougie P's. I don't need Jacksonville's record off a bye.
The visor first the fitted.
Yeah.
That visor that he wears is just like I love it. Even when it's raining, pouring rain, man's in a visor.
The best is when a bald guy wears a visor. When a bald man wears a visor, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it makes sense. You're getting sunburned.
Yeah, you silly goose.
That's what they have for.
Now you're just creating an unnecessary tan line.
Yeah, we're just taking in that vitamin D through the top of the dome is what it is. The absorption.
Straight to the brain, man. That's
Yeah.
it's the fastest way.
Nutrients. That's what it's Mother Nature's nutrients. On the top
Free
of your
base in
head.
the sun is what we're doing out here.
All right. Well, while he's looking that up, we'll get into the next game here real quick. Two teams. This is going to be an interesting matchup. You've got the New Orleans Saints headed up to Minnesota to take on the Josh Dobbs new look Minnesota Vikings. I was working last week, so I didn't get an opportunity to watch this incredible football game. Travesty. But yeah, Josh Dobbs. Todd, does Mary have any thoughts, comments on Josh Dobbs?
Not necessarily on Mr. Astro Dobbs himself, but she did say Vikings are hot and she's taking them.
Okay.
Taking them at home against the Saints.
I love these picks, by the way.
That's her logic. She said they're at home, they're hot. Let her ride.
All right.
I'm not finding it. I can try.
It looks like Mary's got some love in the chat as well. Tez and Pops also going with the Vikings.
Yep. Didn't give her any rebuttal on this one. I said, play the hot hand, see what happens.
Absolutely. Tez said I talked about Dobbs last week. He's a baller. Yeah, he did some pretty impressive stuff last week.
He is very intelligent. Wouldn't call him a baller, but he is very intelligent.
British also taking the heavy on the Vikings here. Corey, who do you got?
I'm fading
crazy.
the I'm fading the chat,
Yeah.
man. I'm
Yeah,
fading the
take
chat. I'm taking the Saints here. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid recency bias in this, and that the Saints have consistently been one of the best defenses in the league. And barring, not taking into account the offensive woes, I think Kamara has consistently been getting better as he's been back on this roster. I can't, like, I saw Josh Dobbs last week. Like, I'm not trying to discredit that.
You love it.
I also saw him the 5 weeks prior in Arizona. Like, we're just forgetting all of that? And absolutely, the roster in Minnesota is better. And so, do I expect this to be a close game? Absolutely, absolutely. I still think Derek Carr's better than Josh Dobbs. I just think that that's true. I think that the Vikings defense is not anywhere near as close, as good as New Orleans defense. It's just not even fucking close. The running game in New Orleans, better. It just is. Taysom Hill is a factor in that offense as well. And the more that they get him involved, the more wrinkles that they can throw in there, that helps them out a little bit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and start giving flowers to the Saints offense because it's pathetic at this point in the season, what they've not been able to do with the weapons that they have on the outside. Supposedly the upgrade that they made at quarterback, and then Alvin Kamara being the running back there. At this point, I'm looking at scheme or lack thereof there in New Orleans and what we're not getting out of that offense. So hanging the hat big time on the defense here. The way better defense, it travels, as my boy to my right here says quite often. Running game and defense travels. And the Saints are getting the nod in both of those categories over the Vikings. So I love what Josh Dobbs is doing. If the Vikings win, am I completely shocked? No, because the Saints have disappointed me time and time again this season. But I'm going to go with New Orleans here.
Aaron.
Yeah, I think the Vikings game last week to me was more of an indictment on Arthur Smith and the Falcons than it was on the Vikings as a whole.
Interesting point.
I'm going to save some of those points till when we talk about the Falcons here, but I think that was a really, really cool story. Congratulations. Very similar in the same way that when Dobbs was able to pull out the win against the Cowboys and why Bobby's up there shirtless. I don't listen. I love Dobbs. It's a great story. I mean, the guy's been on 3 teams in the past 3 months. Good for him. I think a lot of it is, were the Falcons really expecting to play Josh Dobbs in that game? No, it was kind of a weird game in general. But I'm going with Corey here as well. I'm taking the Saints. I just think they're the better team. I really like that defense. And for all things that have gone on in Minnesota, I think that was just kind of a team rallying around it. Of course, you lose Kirk Cousins, you're out, Jay Jets. The team really rallied around him and was able to get that win. Sure, he's going to have it was kind of like a game of pure adrenaline for them to even come back and win that. Dobbs is actually going to be able to know the names of his teammates, know the cadence of the offense, and know the snap count. I mean, there were reports coming out that the Vikings, coach was basically getting until I believe it's 10 seconds until the play clock and till the headset goes out in the helmet, where he's basically like, okay, this is what this play means. It's going to be a button hook on the left. It's going to be, and I almost feel like it's going to kind of just be a reverse in this game, where it's all right. They're going to cram so much in this week, knowing that it's going to need to be Dobbs. And I'm sure the Vikings can win this game, but the Saints are playing good enough football for me right now to pick them here. Won't be surprised if they lose by any means. But how about Taysom Hill just doing it all over there in New Orleans, as well as the red zone Swiss Army knife. Shouts out to anyone who's playing him at tight end in fantasy. Seems like a cheat code. Me too. I got him in both my leagues. Love it. Go ahead, Corey.
So I was just going to say Taysom Hill is one of one in terms of players in the NFL that have thrown, received, and rushed for 10 or more touchdowns.
I'm pretty sure he's going to kick a field goal this week.
He's the only player ever to do that. That's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Tess
Doing
coming
it
in a
all.
comment saying Dobbs was there for 2 days and learned the playbook and did what he did.
It's not true.
He has a full week now to prepare and gain more chemistry with the players. I'm rooting for him. I think
I'm rooting for him. Yeah,
He didn't
I
learn
think
the
you're a
playbook,
football
though.
fan in general, you're rooting for Dobbs.
Yeah,
He had no idea what the hell was going on Sunday.
He
even
didn't
said
learn the playbook, though. Let's be clear about that. He
Yeah.
had 10 plays. He knew 10 plays. That's it. That's what they did. They ran 10 plays.
and he came over the headset with the rest of it. So, that being said, I'm gonna kind of slide the same way as Corey, and just I'm not gonna follow the hype train and ride Josh Dobbs, because we've seen what he was capable of with Arizona, and granted, I think he's got some better weapons here in Minnesota, but that being said, I'm still taking the Saints here. Better defense, more weapons on offense. There's no reason the Saints should not win this game, but there's parity in the NFL every week, and this is a great game for it to happen. So
I mean, Dobbs just bought himself 8 years worth of backup play.
absolutely,
Like
Yeah,
without a
good for
doubt.
him, man.
But let's be real. There's a reason he's been traded twice in the last 3 months. Love
Yeah,
him.
we're looking at the
he's
Foles,
easy to root for.
Minshew,
Got nothing. Yeah, exactly. I have nothing
Keenum,
against him.
McCoy. Like, this is the type of guy we're looking at.
Yeah.
he can come in and get you a win here and there, and that's about all you can ask. So, all right, next game. This is going to be an interesting game, in my opinion. The Texans coming off of an insane win last week. C.J. Stroud, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, going against a much more stout defense this week as they head to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Bengals looks like they've finally hit their stride. It's something that all Bengals fans have been waiting to see this season.
Deja vu.
And it's slow start, and they've figured it out. Or at least it seems that way. Aaron, you want to lead this one off? I'll follow.
Yeah, I'll take it.
We'll let the boys
Jerk each other off for a couple
What-
minutes.
what
Let's
CJ
go.
Stroud- what CJ Stroud has been doing in Houston is absolutely insane. I mean, he has accelerated their clock so much quicker in terms of when this team can be built to contend. I mean, you can argue he's got the most valuable contract right now in the
100%.
NFL for the amount of production that you're getting out of him.
Similar to a Sam Laporta analogy that I was making a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
sure. But of course, what you're getting, I mean, hitting on quarterback in the first round is one of the hardest things to do. And we see, if for whatever reason, these guys get paid the big bucks, and there really seems to be no rhyme or reason to it. A lot of it, can do with injury, over scouting, things like that. Just kind of the, paralysis of analysis that we get to between the off season and actual draft time. And I think it's part of the reason why, the Panthers ended up going with Young as opposed to Stroud, who was, in my opinion, Stroud was clearly the better quarterback, at least in terms of a pro concept. The guy's built like an NFL quarterback. He throws like an NFL quarterback. That game, like you guys had mentioned earlier, that he played against Georgia. I mean, that's about as close of, an NFL defense that you can prepare against that you're going to see in college football. So hats off to everything Stroud has done. Now, what we've seen in Cincinnati, obviously they started really, really slow. they asked, Burrow, what's the difference, between the beginning of the year and now? He's like, I can move, and you can see, you can see it. And, it pains me to say this, but the Bengals are officially back on contender watch. I was not ready to put them there just because of how they started the season. And just frankly, with the AFC North, how big of a hole that they dug themselves. And again, just like the zombies that they are, you see them just never die until they, if somehow they can get eliminated. I don't see that happening this week. I think the Bengals are going to keep rolling. I think they're the better team. Something to keep an eye out here is going to be the health of the receivers in Cincinnati this week. But as long as those guys are, because I believe I saw something with Higgins.
Chase
as well,
didn't practice and Higgins was limited. I think it's
I'm not
more.
That's just the veterans. Yeah.
I think it's a rest more type of deal.
Sure.
And tomorrow will be a big tell for Higgins. I think you still could probably see Jamar get limited a little bit tomorrow. Being that we're recording this on a Wednesday for those of you listening on Spotify, but I think you could still probably see Chase limited tomorrow. Higgins probably maybe limited as well.
As he practices Friday, I have no concern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the one thing, but what I always like to do when I'm making this picks is just kind of make the argument for the other side. Houston absolutely can keep pace on offense with the Bengals. They have shown that this year. Stroud has done just an absolutely phenomenal job of protecting the football. The Bengals have a good defense. And if they really want to put this one away early, you got to somehow, make him turn the ball over. But boy, am I impressed with everything that Stroud has done this year, and Houston can certainly keep pace with them. But it's hard for me to fade the Bengals when it seems like they've really, righted and turned that ship around.
Yeah. Chad agrees with you. And I do as well. Nothing short of remarkable what CJ Stroud has done with the Houston Texans this season. He's I think at this point he's exceeded all of our expectations. I don't think anybody expected this. We expected him to be, a somewhat pro-ready quarterback, but to come out and throw for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in an NFL game, there's some damn good quarterbacks in the league that have been here for a while and still haven't done that.
Yep.
Sure. So,
he'd have to get hit by a bus to not win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's nobody even else remotely close to him. So I got the Benjis here. This is going to be one of the tougher defenses that Stroud's going up against. So I'm interested to see how he responds to it. A complete, full pro, just dominant defense. So it's, the edge rushers in Cincinnati have been wreaking havoc the last couple of weeks, and it's been fun to watch their defense play and get after it and put some pressure on quarterback. So I'm not looking forward to that in a couple of weeks when we have to play them, twice within a month. But that'll be fun. But until then, I've got the Bengals. Floor is yours, gentlemen.
Did I go first last week or did you?
I don't remember.
Let's let Mary go first.
Okay. She's
taking Houston.
And then let me lead into that, because I do have a couple points I want to make off of you guys. And I want to start by saying, this is not I don't enjoy picking the Bengals this week if I were to make the pick, because I think the Texans are the most interesting story in the NFL right now in terms of what they've presented, in terms of how they've won games versus what was expected out of them, especially, drafting 2 of the top 3 picks. Usually isn't a good sign. So I think they've done a good job in the last 2 years of capitalizing on some trades that they've made and getting that extra first round pick and making proper moves in that. And in terms of that, we talked about Stroud. Aaron talked about Stroud taking care of the football. The Bengals are tied for first in the NFL in turnover differential at 9. I foresee that being an issue for CJ Stroud. I do have some concerns about the Bengals being able to get to CJ Stroud and provide pressure based on this Texans offensive line. I think this is a very undervalued offensive line in the NFL in terms of what they present and taking care of their rookie quarterback. I think that's a lot of what CJ Stroud's success has come from getting time, letting plays develop. There. Yeah. So I think that helps. I'm not saying that I don't think that they'll get to Stroud, but I do think that it presents more of a challenge than they've had in the last couple of games that they've played. From another defensive perspective, just talking about the Texans, it's one of the worst run offenses in the NFL. That's kind of been the jab that the NFL has made on the Bengals, is that they can't stop the run. Not really a big concern for Cincinnati this week, so they're going to have to get it done in the air, and they're going to force C.J. Stroud to throw the ball. And if I've seen anything from Cincinnati this year, is that anytime someone tries to throw the ball over the middle, it's pretty damn tough. So just from that perspective, I see the Bengals at least creating enough pressure on Stroud to force a couple of turnovers. I'm not saying they're interceptions, but I foresee a couple turnovers from Houston in this game. And then on the other side, momentum is so strong right now with that offense. I don't foresee it slowing down. This isn't a defense that slows down Cincinnati in terms of the progression that's being made, specifically when you think about 3 of the last 4 defenses that they've played being in the top 12 in the league and still being able to put up 20-plus points. But, I guess if Chase doesn't practice on Friday, I get a little bit concerned about what the plan is. But I think it's a perfect opportunity to run the football for Cincinnati, if that is the case, and set precedent in the run game, because this is a bottom 10 run defense in the NFL as well. So get an opportunity to set up the run and then create play action plays off of that. And tight ends had over 100 yards receiving on Sunday night.
Fuck you.
That's massive. That's massive. That's the piece of the puzzle that's been missing on offense. And whether it's by a committee or if it's an individual, I don't really give a fuck as long as tight ends are catching the football.
Corey.
Yeah, Todd, you make a good point about the tight ends there. And I think a lot of hate was thrown Irv Smith's way after that fumble against the 49ers. But let's say we take that fumble away. Irv Smith's actually had a pretty good couple of games, looking at the Niners game and then the Bills game last week on Sunday. I went on, those of you that didn't check it out, I was on the Mafia Sports Report, a Bills podcast on Friday night. And the biggest thing that these Bills fans were saying is how bad the Bengals defense was. I was like, beginning of the season, yeah, you're right. You're right at how bad they were playing. They weren't playing good. Neither was the offense. Neither part of the team was playing well, and that's why they were in the position that they were in. That's why they lost the games. They weren't playing as good as a team. Not the same Bengals defense. And I told him, I said, you're going to fucking find out. You're going to find out on Sunday night that this is not the defense that you're looking at stats and seeing. The big thing to be concerned about with this Bengals defense, however, explosive plays. They tend to give up a lot of them. They did a pretty good job at containing for the most part against the Bills. But that's what this Houston offense excels at, is those deep, explosive plays. So looking to shore it up. You made a comment on the offensive line for Houston, and I think if you're going to beat Houston, that's how you do it, is get to C.J. Stroud. Don't allow him the time. I would consider them more 50-50, and I think the record indicates that, in that, if you're successful in getting to Stroud, you're able to affect this game in a pretty impactful manner. Texans do a good job of one thing, though, taking away the biggest impact player on the defensive line. So I obviously Trey Hendrickson is something that everybody's going to be looking out for. I'm more interested to see how BJ Hill impacts this game from the interior.
He had a very good game on Sunday night too.
Absolutely. He's had a really good stretch of games here, has BJ Hill. Talk about a fucking trade, man. Billy Price for BJ Hill and a 7th round pick. I mean, just Duke Tobin, chef's kiss, baby. But that's how you win this game. There are multiple ways to win this game from the Bengals. Their roster's just better. Their quarterback's better. They're just a better team, I think. But Houston is hurt on the defensive side as well. So that leaves some opportunities for the offense. We've done a lot of shouting out of CJ Stroud. I think we shout out DeMeco Ryans too. This guy he's a rookie head coach with a rookie quarterback, and they're a 500 football team right now.
Yeah.
So let's give him his flowers as well. I think where we're going to see the Bengals shine is the depth that they bring on the defensive line. I think Miles Murphy, 1st-round draft pick out of Clemson, we're going to see him get some more rotational play. I think you're going to see him maybe even outshine Joseph Asai a little bit here, which is a little concerning, because those are two of the guys that you're looking to kind of probably end up replacing a Sam Hubbard here in the near future. Just being honest about what we have. Love Sam. If he continues production, I'd love to keep him around, but let's just be honest here about what it is. And the key to the game, the Wizard, it's Lou. I mean, getting crazy, fucking things up for CJ, showing him looks that, you know, he's never seen before. And NFL, keep being stupid. I hope you continue to not give him a head coaching job for whatever reason. Just please keep him here as my defensive coordinator for my favorite team. And going into this season, like looking at the schedule, Bills, Texans, Ravens, right? You see that schedule and you look at this one right here and you're like, oh, that could be a trap game. This is a trap game for sure. You're getting the Bills, or you're getting the Texans, right after the Bills. And then you got a short week before you play the Ravens. Thank God the Texans have played well. Thank God that CJ Stroud has played well, because now there's no way that you can overlook this game anymore after what he did last week. It's just not possible. And thankfully it's a common opponent on Thursday night. Like, it's not like we're not getting the Niners on a short week. You know what I mean? We're getting the Ravens, a team that we've seen frequently once already this season. So that kind of helps to, like, you don't have to do any kind of prep during the week for that opponent, right? So long way of me saying I've gotten the Bengals, but I feel like this matchup deserves to be talked about a little bit more, because we've got two really, like, teams that are playing really well right now. And in the NFL, anything can happen. I don't like a 7 line. I think that Houston can cover that.
Yeah.
If it's a backdoor cover, whatever. Like, maybe the Bengals are up 10, or, you know, maybe they're up 14 and Houston scores a late garbage time touchdown or something and tries an onside kick. I don't know, but I think that Houston can absolutely cover a 7-point spread, but taking the Bengals.
Well, and Todd had made the point about the Texans defense, and, you know, they haven't been necessarily fantastic. And that might be part of the reason why we are seeing Stroud putting up these type of numbers, is because they are playing from behind so much. And I'm not trying to take anything away from exactly, but he is certainly, and that was my point. And Corey, yeah, I don't like the spread here for the Bengals, but that's not what this game is about. I certainly like the Bengals to win out right here. I like the Texans to cover. I think this will be a close game. I think this will be a sneaky good 1 o'clock. I certainly can see Stroud. Like I said, I can see him keeping the Texans, or having the Texans keep pace with the Bengals. You know, this is an offense that, you know, and the Bengals are finally starting to hum here. But again, if there is going to be any bit of a question mark on that receiving core, that's where I get a little bit worried here. But sitting here on Wednesday making the picks, I got to assume that those guys play.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting perspective too, in terms of just pure coaching. Like, you're taking the veteran defensive coordinator against a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach, and a rookie offensive coordinator too, right? Like, there's just a level of experience in the NFL that when you take a matchup on like that, it gets kind of tricky, especially with the volume of different looks that the Bengals defense provides. So I didn't even take that into consideration.
It's a fair point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is.
All right. Well, there you have it. We are all in agreement on the Texans versus the Bengals.
Is it just me, or does this seem like a week where it's hard to bet against the favorites?
Yeah.
That's not good news usually.
Nope. That was the week where we all really, really struggled.
Yep. So let's go back to that week. So that was week 7. And nobody had a winning record.
No.
Not a single one of us. The Buccaneers beat the Falcons. The Raiders the Falcons beat the Buccaneers. The Bears beat the Raiders. The Giants beat the Commanders. The Ravens shellacked the Lions. I remember that. Patriots upset the Bills.
Denver beat Packers.
Steelers beat the Rams. And then the Vikings beat the 49ers. Yeah. Crazy week.
That's a good point. This is one of those toss-up weeks.
It's hard for me looking at this schedule for this week to be like, all right, well, let's dive in on some of these underdogs. And that does make me a little bit nervous with these picks.
Well,
I'm
this
like,
next
I'm
game
forcing
might
myself.
provide that for you, Mr. Bailey.
Okay. All right, what do you got?
Might provide it. We've got the Tennessee Titans taking things on the road down to Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Corey, how's that Reese's? Nice and frozen?
Just pulled it out of the freezer here, boys. It's gonna
The
be
only way to
delicious.
do it.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
delicious.
It's a rookie move to eat them straight out of the bag. So,
I mean, I do it all the time, but because I'm fat.
I think we all have a piece of that attached to us here. So I don't think anybody can argue with you on that one. All right,
Because I'm obviously really fat. Is that what you're saying?
that's just massive.
I mean, you are eating a Reese cup on a live podcast, so
now he's just doing it on purpose.
doesn't
all right.
bode well for overall health.
Aaron,
Good.
speaking of this, taking underdogs, we got Titans Buccaneers. Who you got?
Yeah, guys. Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback moving forward here for Tennessee. It's the right move to make. I know they tried to make it seem like, well, I get it. You don't want to just hand the job. And Vrabel is a very old school type of guy, and even in a game what they lost to Pittsburgh, I thought Levis looked good. I know he didn't get the ball in the end zone, but I thought he made some big time throws. He looked like an NFL quarterback. He's able to drive that ball downfield. Vrabel was a little critical of him. I understand why he's doing it. But if I'm Tennessee, I'm pretty, for a season that seems to be lost, this is kind of what you want out of that season is I want to see that my rookie quarterback can show me the way of the future. And I think he's certainly done that. It's hard here though. The Buccaneers, I think, have played good football. I think Baker has played, better than I, probably personally anticipated, but I'm still seeing the same kind of traits and tendencies and a couple of things that, I don't think he'll ever be an above average starting quarterback. But I certainly think that he's going to, be in the league for a while. There's a lot of weapons in Tampa Bay. I'm going to take the Titans here on a long week, playing that Thursday night game where I thought it's a game that I'm almost surprised that they did lose. But it's just weird stuff against Pittsburgh. And meanwhile, they're playing like their polar opposite team where the Buccaneers are playing games that I can't believe that they did lose. Or I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me that they can put up the offensive points that they did in games like last week against Houston, where it's, I don't know how you lose that game. You go up with 45 seconds left and you let Stroud go down the field and do what he does. I'm going to take, I did say Tennessee. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with Tennessee here. I actually have really liked what I've seen out of Levis so far. And I think he proves to be a big arm a quarterback.
Todd.
Mary likes the Titans. 2 reasons. CATS, cats. That's just an excellent wife to support her husband in that way. And Mary said the Titans are the lesser of 2 evils in this matchup. She's not high on either team.
Oh, okay.
And we watched the Thursday night game against the Steelers, and then she watched the comeback of the Texans against the Bucks. And she was like, Titans could beat that defense. And I said, yeah, maybe. And here we are, her picking the Titans.
All right, fair enough. Corey, Mr.
Yeah.
Reese's Cup.
Yes, those are really good. I'm leaning different after that Thursday night game, having watched that with Will Levis. I came out of that game thinking this guy he can't process the field very quickly. Like he takes a long time to figure out where he wants to go with the ball. And
Sure.
I think that's bad. I think that's bad news. I think that's why we saw the touchdowns that he threw in his first start being deep balls, because those typically take a long time to develop. Now, credit to him, he hit them, right? You got to make those throws, and he made them. That said, who are the quarterbacks that are most successful in this league? It's the ones that process the field quickly and get the ball out quickly. Those are the guys that win. And sitting there holding the ball against a Steelers front is silly. Just very, very silly. And again, he wasn't making bad decisions and like forcing throws, so that's good. But the processing of the field, I don't think that was happening quick enough. So it leads me to take the home team here. Like I think that this is an even matchup. I think the spread kind of indicates that. What are we looking at? Like
1 point,
Yeah.
point for Tampa Bay at home.
Yeah. So I think that makes a lot of sense. If Tennessee wins, am I shocked? Absolutely not. But I feel more confident in Tampa's offense than I do in Tennessee's, because I think that Will Levis can be confused pretty easily. And so I'm going to take the Buccaneers here at home.
I'm also taking the Bucks here. So I'll have the panel officially split 50-50.
We got this, Todd.
Aaron said it best. I think the Buccaneers are losing games that you would have thought that they would have won. Like watching the game should have won, or at least it looked that way. And the Titans, that Thursday night game was brutal to watch.
So many fucking penalties. So many fucking penalties.
That first quarter was a nightmare. It took 45 minutes.
God.
Yeah,
I don't think I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, I stayed up and watched it, man. I had to be up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. the next day. I was just like, but I couldn't go to sleep after that game. I was so stressed out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't drink.
Over under Jeffrey Simmons has a personal foul in this game again. For
oh my God, dude!
10th week in a row.
Can't stop. Night. He can't stop, dude.
No,
can't stop. Won't stop.
He's a great football player, but just a total pile. Like,
yeah, he's just
yeah.
He's a big old ass.
Won't stop. Glass eating motherfucker. Speaking of those guys, got the Detroit Lions coming off a bye week this week. Gentlemen.
Glass eaters are the Bengals. First of all, let's make that clear. Kneecap biters are the Lions.
Oh, kneecap biters. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I failed the segue. We got the Detroit Lions coming off of a bye week against a Chargers team that we last week felt like we hadn't seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
Corey, lead us off.
Yeah, I think they beat a bad Jets team. So I'm not ready to go and say, oh, the Chargers are back. Do it this week, and it's a different story, obviously. But I think that this one's pretty clear. I think the Lions are a legitimate team in the NFC. I think they clearly are going to win their division. And Vikings might have something to say about that. But I think we'll figure out who they are pretty quickly. But hey, Aaron, they won their last 3 games? Like the Vikings are officially 500 again.
Yeah, they also lost their,
Hey, Yes, but Josh Dobbs. I
don't know. Is he even? I mean, Nick Mullins is coming off of IR here in a second. Let's see.
so
bring it back.
No, I think what
Cardinals
the Lions
didn't have to trade him.
What the Lions bring to the table, especially what you've seen out of Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, Jared Goff puts them in a great position to be successful on offense. The one thing that I would be a little concerned about for the Lions is their defense. I think they kind of, have been in their losses getting exposed in terms of their secondary and giving up a lot of through the air. So just a little bit concerned about that, especially going against Justin Herbert, right? He's a guy that can make you pay there. But I have to go with the team that I think is more complete, more consistently playing at a high level. I will say this. This is a litmus test for the Lions, in my opinion. Should they lose this game, I do believe they should be removed from contender talk. I think that would prove the point, because the Chargers aren't even really in a contention type conversation right now. I think sitting at 500. They're not in that type of conversation. The Lions have yet, other than a week 1 victory against the Chiefs, which, take that for what you will.
No Travis Kelce, week 1.
Right. Yeah. Put some,
Kadarius
take many grains of salt with that. But they haven't beaten a serious contender yet. In fact, they've lost to the 2 serious contenders that they've faced. in that being the Seattle Seahawks at home in overtime, and then absolutely getting decimated by the Ravens. So this is a litmus test. I believe they're going on the road. Am I correct in that? This is in SoFi?
Yeah.
So going on the road
Big home
to
field advantage there.
right. Going on the road to an offense that can score points with a top echelon, top half, at least top 10 quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have to win this game. You have to demonstrate that you can beat a team like this. But I am going to still stick with them. And MCDC, give me the Lions.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'm rolling with you here. I actually feel a lot better about the Lions' loss to the Ravens after seeing what they just did to the Seahawks. I think the Ravens are just that much better of a team than I thought going into that week, where I think a lot of us, if not all of us, took the Lions in that game, and that was in the Black Sunday, we'll call it, where we all just got destroyed.
Yes.
But listen, I think the Chargers are gonna lull us into this false sense of purpose that we saw from this past week, and that's exactly why I'm going to take the Lions here. Is you're going to feel really good about them because we're finally seeing it. They did it against the Jets. Not buying it for 1 second here.
Wow.
That's all against. I've been burned too many times by the Chargers for me to stick my hand back over the stove. Remember the first time you touched a hot pot on the stove when you were a kid? Now imagine doing it like 5 times, and then
I still haven't learned with pizza rolls. But.
Well, no one will, because everyone likes to be a dragon. But no, I think the Lions are the more complete team. Big part of this too is David Montgomery coming back healthy, and for the Lions, kind of exactly what you wanted in that situation where I think he's going to come back healthy, but Gibbs showed himself that he can still be that workhorse in there, and I think you're going to see the ground and pound with Montgomery. He's going to get the goal line touches, but I don't think they're going to fade away from utilizing Gibbs in that offense between the 20s. And I think that'll be a big emphasis on their offense. The Chargers are, Allen is still doing his thing. Eckler's back. We didn't really, the Chargers were up so much in that game so early. Herbert had a pedestrian game, but they didn't need him to do anything else. They were content with, hey, we're up so much. Let's get the ball and let's not have him do too much. I think outside of Allen, really nobody from a fantasy perspective really did much for you, which is fine because they didn't need it. I don't think the Chargers defense is necessarily good. I think they just fell into a bad performance from the Jets on Monday Night Football. Chargers are on a short week, going all the way back home. I'm going to take the Lions here. I just think they're the better team, and Goff consistently is, just playing exactly what you want out of a quarterback for a team like the Lions, where he's going to limit the mistakes, but he'll probably go 245 between 270, 2 touchdowns, probably no picks, and that's the way I like it.
Todd.
Yeah, Mary's got the Lions. I want to add a few things about the Chargers here too, because I think I'm sitting on the same side of the fence as Aaron, because I think I've been in the same boat too, where I kind of buy into what the Chargers are selling. I fall into the volcano insurance scam that they are every single year. And
that's such a great analogy.
Yeah, I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of it. I've done this 3 years in a row where I talk about the Chargers and they're right on the cusp, and it's not there. And here's my point. They had 8 sacks against the Jets. That's fine. We've said on this podcast multiple times, the Jets' offensive line's arguably the worst in the NFL. They did what they had to do to win the game, right? I haven't been super impressed by Justin Herbert this year, really at all. I think that for him to receive the contract that he received, I don't really buy into like a 130-yard game and just kind of writing it off that he had against the Jets. I get that they're in the driver's seat, but if I'm the Chargers and I kind of want to just fucking I want to hum it. I want to score 40 points against the Jets. That's a top tier defense. I'm giving Justin Herbert free reign to throw the ball over the field and see what he can do. On On the other side of that, I had a coworker tell me something interesting, and I looked into it. Quentin Johnston does not know how to run the route tree on the right side of the field. He can only run it on the left side of the field.
What?
Yep.
It's like Zoolander.
So, yep. So a coworker of mine that's a big football guy, he told me that, and I
That's
was
another
like,
fantastic analogy that
yeah,
just
that was a
dropped
good
by
one.
the
That was
way.
a good one. If I wasn't in the heat of the moment, I probably would have reacted the same way.
Turn left.
Sorry.
But I looked into it, and it was like somebody had like thrown it out on Twitter, and then it caught traction, and it turns out that Quentin Johnston at TCU only lined up on the left side of the field like 95% of the time. And the monster year that he had at TCU last year, he only caught 4 passes from the rally side of the field.
Holy shit.
Wow. Great stat.
Yeah, so
That's
big
insane.
problem there that you drafted that
That's
guy
the
in
shit
the
you
first
get here at
round.
Rally Town Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you, Todd.
But I think it's going to be really it's going to be interesting to see what they do against the Lions, because I agree with you, Corey. The secondary is a question mark based on the sheer volume of injuries that they've had. But they're not going to get the field position that they got against the Jets because they're facing a top 5 offensive line. They're not going to give up 8 sacks and create 3 fumbles off of sacks. Those things aren't going to fall into the Chargers' favor this week. And I think the Lions are in a position similar to what Corey said, where yes, this is a litmus test for them, but and a lot of factors too, they are the biggest question mark of the NFC in terms of what does their record translate to. And I think they feel that pressure and they want to throw it on the AFC a little bit. So I'm taking, in a long-winded way of saying this, I'm taking the Lions, and I'm agreeing with my wife on this one.
I got $1 million marketing idea here for Rally Towel Sports. We sell a Christmas tree, a Christmas route tree, where it's just a Christmas tree, but the ornaments are all different route. You got button hook, you got curl, you got slant, out.
We're gonna get Lowe's as a sponsor here. Pick up your Rally Town Sports Christmas tree at your local Lowe's.
Christmas route tree.
I love it.
Then we'll get Quentin Johnson to market it on
Let's,
the left side of the country.
Let's touch on Tez's comment here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take the Lions, but Corey, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so Tez coming to the comment saying, how do we say that there's a lot of parity in the league and then say that the Lions lose this game and they're no longer contenders? I don't agree. The Chargers have the players to play against any team. They just haven't put it together. Great comment there by Tez. Appreciate you joining the chat here, which if you're listening on Spotify, we are live every Wednesday night on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Tez, the reason for that comment, the reason I specifically said that, I said that I don't think the Lions are contenders if they don't win this football game. The reason why is because they haven't demonstrated. They haven't demonstrated the ability to beat a top-tier team other than the Chiefs in week 1, which we take a grain of salt with that in week 1. I think that there's a lot that happens in the early goings of the season. I need to see them beat a team. And I'm not saying that the Chargers are a top-tier team, but they're coming off a nice win where the defense played tough. And, to get that kind of defensive performance in the NFL, yeah, it's the Jets. Yeah, it's Zach Wilson. And we have to take that into account as well. I think they need to win this game. They have to win this game to continue on this trajectory that they were awarded early on before the first snap of football was even taken, that they're a legitimate contender. This is a game they should absolutely win. They should absolutely win. Now, had they beaten the Ravens or had they beaten the Seahawks, a higher quality win, I think I'm right there to where like they lose this game. It doesn't necessarily change how I feel about it. But the fact that they lost to the Ravens, the fact that they lost to the Seahawks, and their only real quality victory so far this season is that week 1 win against the Chiefs. It kind of puts a damper on it for me a little bit. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. The Niners have lost 3 in a row. Absolutely, Tez. The Niners have lost 3 in a row. Think that they've demonstrated other quality wins throughout the beginning of this season so far.
I would say that's a fair point. British coming in with a comment. Does it get there when they change their coach eventually, finally, question mark? I'm assuming talking about Chargers and Staley. It's going to happen at some point, whether it's
I mean, they're 500 right now.
Belichick?
They're 500 right now. Like, you don't get fired for going 500. Doesn't happen.
True.
You do
They missed
consistently
the
year over
playoffs,
year.
though. Yeah. They missed the playoffs, they'll get fired.
Jeff Fisher, baby.
You also have put the investment in the quarterback. There's really,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just the scapegoat. We
Yep.
see it.
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
yeah.
I already told you who I think my head coach of the Chargers is going to be. It's not Bill Belichick. I said it last week.
Harbaugh.
Eric Bieniemy.
Ah,
I do remember you saying that. I do remember.
Yeah.
Saying
Harbaugh's going to the Raiders.
Good pull.
I could see a Harbaugh Vikings, Harbaugh Bears, more likely.
I can see. I lean on.
I could
Todd
see
second.
Chicago being a good fit for him.
I could see them both being. Both.
Here's why Bears. You don't have to move the family. You can commute to Chicago for work.
I think he can afford to move them. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, but they're you don't have to. He's a Michigan man.
Interesting. Interesting thought process. All right, boys. Let's move on here. We've got the next game on the slate. We've got the Atlanta Falcons headed to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Birds. The Dirty Birds against the
Did
Red
you just
Birds.
add a syllable to that? Cardinals.
I did.
Yeah, he did.
It's like,
like it.
athlete. That's amazing.
Athlete. Nice bench warmers reference there, Bob.
Thank you. Yeah, that movie is hilarious for those of you that
God,
haven't
good
seen
movie quotes tonight, fellas. It's been good.
Schmegma Drive. Underrated joke in that movie.
it. Is that Kit from Knight Rider? All right. All right. Atlanta Falcons on the road against the Cardinals. Todd, who you got?
Mary's got the Falcons that said Cardinals stink.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I could add to that is I listened to Arthur Smith talk for 5 minutes this morning out of his ass about why
That must
they
have
don't
been exhausting.
use Bijan Robinson in the red zone. I sat
For
through the
him
whole
or
thing,
Todd?
fellas. For me.
Yeah.
I think he's
What
talking
was
for
for
me.
Todd?
And it was. Bobby, I could tell you what he said, but he didn't say anything. Right? That's my point here.
He
is
said
I
a
that-
wanna
lot of
know what-
nothing at the same time.
I want to know what Arthur Smith was doing in a Greater Columbus Micro Center at this time of the week. He's supposed to be getting ready for a game.
I'm so out on Arthur
Whoops.
Smith, guys. I'm so out.
Yeah. I think Falcons fans share your sentiment, Aaron, because
Mm.
I can't
From-
stand listening to him talk.
it's just a rich boy talking out of his ass. That's kind of what I get from him most of the time.
So I want to echo this point because I thought it was really, really good, and I think it would. I don't know if you guys probably didn't hear this. So Danny Heifetz, who does he podcasts for the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. He made this really great analogy about how Arthur Smith has fought his entire life that he's not like a Nepo baby because, obviously his dad is the founder of FedEx. So like he's just sitting on $1 billion. And he basically, because of how much he wants to prove that he's not a Nepo baby, he's basically taking all of these elite offensive first round picks and being like, well, you got to prove it. We don't just hand things out around here. We don't just hand things out around here. And it just like struck such a chord with me that I just wanted to echo that point because I just thought, one, it was hilarious and it's just an interesting observation. But like it really does seem like that's the way he wants to operate, where he's like, well, yeah, obviously we're gonna throw the ball to Jonnu Smith, not Kyle fucking Pitts, or we're gonna
Yeah,
give the
what
ball.
the
Like,
fuck, dude?
I just can't get on board with the way that he is operating this team here. Corey, what holiday do we got coming up here? We got
Veterans Day?
Well, no, that already happened. What's the next
Okay.
one?
Veterans Day. is
Thanksgiving.
Saturday.
Thanksgiving. What do we always say about the Cardinals?
Oh, you don't bet on the bird after you cut the bird.
We're not there yet. I am so fucking out on the Falcons, boys. Guess who's coming back this week? Kyler. I'm taking the Cardinals here in a similar fashion. In a similar fashion of why I took the Raiders last week. I actually think the Cardinals are going to show a little bit of juice in life this week, and I am so down on the Falcons for how they started. Okay, they started okay. Like that division's really bad. They're going to contend in it. If Arthur Smith is going to continuously coach the way that he is for this Falcons team, and just why would I get the ball to my best players? Yeah, I'm going to take Kyler Murray playing backyard football this week because I think the Cardinals although they're not fantastic, I think Kyler Murray can still show that he does enough on the field. The Cardinals still have a couple wins left in them, in my opinion. Like, obviously they played terribly last week, but I mean, Tune is bad, guys. He is not a good quarterback. There's still some offensive skill positions. James Conner could come back this week. It probably won't happen. But I'm gonna take the Cardinals this week on a flyer. I know that's bold though.
Did you just convince Bobby?
I don't know. Like, I'm on the fence now. The only thing that's really just going to keep me.
I don't want to convince any of you.
Where I initially stood, the new Call of Duty drops Friday.
Bad luck.
So, with that being said, we know Kyler's history of not putting.
It's statistically a fact at this point.
So,
yeah.
With that dropping on Friday, I am taking the Falcons.
Yeah,
for no other reason than Call of Duty is dropping Friday. I know Kyler Murray is a huge COD nerd. So
also, like, Kyler Murray, like tons of athletic ability within this guy. Like, obviously being a Major League Baseball draft pick in the first round, being a first round overall pick in the NFL. Obviously, like, this guy is an athlete. He's also a bad quarterback, and I think we need to, like. Are we forgetting that they put in his contract the amount of film that he had to watch? Like, this guy he's not good. He's not good. He's an athlete and he can make plays. Absolutely, Aaron. You're 100% right. And based on the way that the Falcons have been playing, I totally get why you're leaning on.
It's a flyer. I like
100%.
Totally.
I get it. I see some bad decisions.
2 bird teams, and I'm taking a flyer.
Nice, dude. I'm going to hope that the message has been made clear at this point, at least on one of these first round draft picks, in terms of their usage, and that we see a little bit more Bijan this week. Not saying Kyle Pitts, because we've had over 2 years of that at this point, and we know that that's just apparently they just don't want to use him. When they do use him, he's pretty good, but they just have consistently decided not to utilize Kyle Pitts.
Can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Like, just
for Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, like being open on 30 of the, or let's call it 18 of the reps you run a game and getting the ball 4 times, or being the lead blocker on a run play on 3rd and goal.
Another big part.
5th overall pick.
Another thing that I think does help this offense is it looks like Drake London's going to come back this week, and I think that is a big part of their offense. Obviously, I think he's their number 1 receiver. That's a big.
He did not look great last week though either.
Fair enough. I'm still taking the Falcons here. I'm just not going to bet on the Cardinals at all this whole year, and I think I'll be right more often than not. So I'm just going to continue on that.
But this is my last, basically my last.
I got you.
To do it.
I got you.
Yeah,
you're right.
Sure. All right. This next game, each of us should only have to say one word. Giants on the road in Dallas. Cowboys.
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito. Just kidding. Cowboys.
Revenge game.
Dude, the Giants are we talked a little bit about last week. The Giants are clearly the most dysfunctional team. Like, they're the most fucked franchise in the NFL right now. Right? Worse than the Cardinals, I think.
Do you know who the backup quarterback is this week, fellas? Matt Barkley.
Oh boy!
They signed Matt Barkley today to the active roster.
I mean, the Rams signed Carson Wentz.
Yeah, they did.
I'd rather have Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair statement.
Like a slap in the face or a kick in the balls. Neither are fun, but one's clearly better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You asked about the most fucked franchise, though.
It's the Giants. It's
the
not
Giants
even
are
close.
gonna like that. The Jones deal, like, they can get out of it after the next. Like, it's not. I wouldn't be too worried about that.
They are out of it.
Aaron is the cap wizard, so if anybody would know, it's him.
The Murray one is a lot more restrictive.
All right.
Fair enough.
All right.
I don't love the Bears, but if the season ends today, they have the 2nd and 3rd pick. So
Raiders would take Kyler Murray in a heartbeat. Mark Davis.
They don't want to be good.
Yeah, that might be the most dysfunctional franchise as well. The Raiders are in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did. Well, we'll get to the Raiders here in a minute. Next game on the slate, we've got the Washington Commanders taking things to the West Coast, a little bit up north, take on Pete Carroll and those Seahawks.
Shout out Sam Howell, dude. He's playing good football.
I love watching him play, man.
Eric, go ahead.
Like he's enjoyable to watch. But with that being said, I think the Seahawks got absolutely embarrassed last week. And I unfortunately think they're going to take a little bit of aggression out on Washington. Washington has kind of already signaled what they're all about this year on defense in terms of trading away Chase Young and I think the Seahawks are a good team. I just think they kind of fell into a buzzsaw last week. I think it can still be a competitive game. I still think it can be a high scoring game. I'd love the over in this game. In fact, what is that? We're looking at 45.5. Of course, Vegas knows what they're doing. But that's kind of right on the edge. I could see this just being an absolute, 35-28 type game. It's kind of hard to bet against the Seahawks at home though, as well. I'm going to take the Seahawks here, especially after an embarrassing loss.
Corey.
Yeah. Washington's a bad team. No matter what, I talk about pretty much every other week here, how I like all of their weapons on offense, and I do, and I like the way that Sam Howell plays. They're just not a good football team, and I don't think that their defense does them any favors. Even when they had Montez Sweat and Chase Young, their defense still didn't do them any favors, which is why I don't really like San Fran and the Bears trading for who they traded for, respectively. Like, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. Like, I don't think Chase Young is going to make a massive impact on this San Francisco defensive line this week. I don't think we're going to be talking about. Yeah, 100%, and a good one. Just like and a good one. Absolutely, great. Even in terms of depth, right? Coming off the bench, just putting out there in pass rushing situations. That's a fantastic card to have up the sleeve. But getting back to the game at hand here, I think Aaron's kind of right on the money. Getting embarrassed, going on the road, coming back home, comfortability in that home crowd. Got to go with the better team, better roster, better coach, better quarterback. Give me the Seahawks.
All the above. Todd.
Fellas, I'm a man of stats. I am.
Is Mary a woman of stats?
No, she's all vibes.
Brother, she got a stat for me for this pick.
Oh, I love it.
The Washington Commanders are 7-1 on the road against the Seahawks.
What?
Like all time?
Look it up.
Wow.
They're 7-1 against the Seahawks on the road.
Seahawks are due.
Fade the streak.
Mary's so I asked her, this is the first one that stood out to me as I was kind of perusing, and I said, "Where'd you get this?" She said, "Look at this." Shows me her phone, had it saved. It was really a delightful.
It's a Word document.
Yeah.
Creed thoughts, hashtag.
Even for the internet, it's shocking.
But she took the Commanders based off the stat.
That's great.
And her fact to me was she said that this is what you preach to me when you talk about how you get to decisions. And I said, yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, but that's why I'm having you make the picks.
Right. Well, fellas, more than anything, I'm just surprised she listens. Right. I think that's the thing. I was most shocked. She has to sit next to me every Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
We'll edit that part out.
Well,
I'm
just surprised she listens. This woman.
Well, fuck. How much do I talk? I mean, she takes 5% away. It's nothing but stats. But I was proud of her. I was proud of her for that being her decision. It was good.
That's great. I could see it again. I love how Sam Howell's playing. I really do. It's
so
very
fun
surprising.
to watch.
Yeah.
You know what? Just because of that stat, I'm riding with you.
I like it. Also, did you guys see that Earl
Commanders.
Thomas is like in a massive got his identity stolen by nice. So he got his identity stolen by his ex-wife's current boyfriend.
Former college roommate.
Yeah, clipped him for $2 million.
Spaceballs.
What?
No way.
Wow.
$2 million. Got
Nice.
basically stole his identity enough to get all of the vehicles that he owns into this guy's name.
Wow.
Got several other things. He's on the hook for like 1.9. It's a federal investigation, on the hook for $1.9 million.
Oh, that guy's going to prison.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
We had our identity stolen this weekend. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
That's
so
brutal.
we were getting the Instacart notifications, like ta-ding, 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 just getting a bunch of texts. And Katie gets on the horn with the bank and it's like, this is bullshit. And they're like, all right, cool, here's your money back. We'll take care of it. She goes out to the park. I'm sitting there doing laundry. I get a knock on the door, and it's a dude and his wife doing Instacart deliveries with a 50-inch TV and a gallon of milk. I'm like, hey, we're here for your delivery. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so they show me the screen, my name, my address, and he's talking to the guy. Oh, hey, I'll be right there, and I'm coming up in a blue car. So I'm half a mind to go grab the fucking 12 gauge. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Anyway, we see homeboy driving down the street in his blue car. He sees me standing out in the yard acting irate, drives away, parks on a parallel street. We get his license plate. Long story short, reported it to the police. I got a 50-inch TV sitting in my foyer right now, ready to go back to Walmart. At any time, Walmart, you just let me know. I don't want it. All right, I don't want it. But people are doing this crazy shit all the
It's
time.
holidays,
now.
brother. It's
Well,
holidays.
That's wild.
He like drop shipped a 50-inch TV to my doorstep and was gonna try and pick it up and just be
Yeah,
like,
that's
peace.
stupid. That's
Yeah.
real
I mean,
stupid.
if you're gonna steal someone's identity, spring for the 70.
Right. Like, come on. And the gallon of milk?
Well, that's just
That's
First
just
game.
wasteful. This whole milk. I was gonna drink it. Come on.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Who drinks milk?
God, that
Like
sucks.
my children.
Well,
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yep, kids.
All right, boys. Steve, I don't know what I was going to say there. I just blanked.
Gefilte fish.
Gefilte fish. All right. I mean, we got at least
Massive fake tits. Nice.
anytime I just fail a segue or just can't think of anything, you're just gonna hear it. So, all right. Sunday night game. We've got the New York Football Jets coming off a real bad L, taking on the Vegas Raiders.
Your
who
boy is going
coming
to
off
bed
of a
early.
dominant win. This can Antonio Pierce do it again? We'll see. Corey, who you got?
Who did I take in this one? I forget even now as we're talking about it. I'm taking the Raiders. I'm taking the Raiders again at home. The crowd's going to be hyped. They're going to be excited about it. I think he's going to continue to bring the energy. I think that they're riding this victory, and you're going to get as far as you can off of just grit and determination. And the Jets are a fine team to go ahead and get another win against based on that performance that we saw. So, yeah, go ahead and give me the Raiders here. And would I be surprised if they fall back to earth? Absolutely not. But I like what they got in terms of if they can commit to establishing the running game through Josh Jacobs. And Max Crosby is the type of guy that can wreck a game. Obviously, the Jets have equal pieces there in terms of a Breece Hall and then a Quinnen Williams or Sauce Gardner there. The Jets have a lot of pieces at least. But the Raiders are feeling good about themselves right now, and the Jets aren't. So give me the home team.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Josh Jacobs finally had a solid game.
Still didn't have 100 yards though.
Weird.
Didn't have 100 yards.
2 tutties,
It's-
though.
It's weird. You take McDaniels at the Patriots, never committed to a running game, and then you put him in Vegas, and then Josh Jacobs just vanishes. It's just weird how that happens. I just don't
One of the best backs in the league to
just quit fucking hiring him.
Who is that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, after the way he left, I don't think you'll see him back in the NFL for a while.
Yeah, the
at
whole
least not
PF
in-
Chang's
at-
thing,
At least not in a head coaching capacity. But yeah, I'll take the Raiders this week. Aaron, who you got?
Yeah, I was pretty heavy on the fact that the Raiders were going to come out and win just because of the coach firing. I think this is just an abysmal Sunday night game. Obviously, when you're doing this schedule preseason, you're of course expecting Rodgers. We're seeing the Jets in way too many primetime games. The Raiders went a little too hard for me after winning a meaningless regular season game, smoking cigars.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck yeah,
I'm
dude.
taking the Jets here, guys.
It was Antonio
was-
Pierce's first win as a head coach. You got to celebrate.
Yeah, you got to celebrate. Hats off to him. Congratulations. The Jets defense is still really, really good. And of course, they got off on terrible footing last week, giving up a punt return touchdown. But it's also Aiden O'Connell going against the Jets defense that I think is really good. Hopefully, Zach Wilson cannot blow this game for the Jets. But part of the reason I took the Raiders last week was the coach firing, in the similar sense of what we saw with the Colts and Jeff Saturday. What happened to them? They didn't win another game after that. I'm predicting a similar kind of thing for the Raiders here. I don't necessarily think they're going to be a great team. I think they were going to show out last week against a bad Giants team. Of course, the Raiders can win this game.
Putting them in the same category as Jeff Saturday is not fair.
No,
but he was on the staff. Jeff Saturday was not on the staff.
No.
He's
I
this guy.
know.
He's
But
this
what I'm
guy.
saying is I think the team was the vibes. I think the team was so jacked up for the fact that McDaniels was gone. I really, really do not like the cigar smoking, and not that I don't like. I get why they like. It's fine. It's whatever. But to me, it's like the season's already over there.
Yeah.
And for the Jets, they still have the opportunity for somehow Rodgers coming back this year, and I think they're going to play defensive football. And I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but
I don't think he's coming back.
I'm gonna take the Jets here. I think the defense against O'Connell is going to make some plays. I also like the Jets defense to score a touchdown in this game.
Todd.
Yeah, Mary's got the Raiders. I'm just looking at wrapping up the Raiders schedule. They don't play a team with a losing record again until week 17.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And that's the Colts. So
Who are okay?
they've got so they've got the Dolphins.
The battle of the
Chiefs.
crazy owners.
Yeah. They got obviously
Lot
the
of
Jets
coke.
this week. Dolphins. I think Jim Irsay's a crack guy, right? Did he
So
get caught
did-
smoking crack? Not
He's got
cocaine.
too much money to be smoking crack.
Did you hear about the conversation, I guess, that was had about give me the interim head coach for the Raiders again? What was his name?
Antonio Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. So apparently there was a reference to the undefeated Patriots season going against the Giants. And Antonio Pierce said, we as a team,
He was on that
Need-
Giants roster.
we need to have the mindset. Nobody believed in us as the Giants. We need to have that mindset that we're going to go out there and prove people wrong. And then everybody exited feeling really good about the meeting. And apparently McDaniels told them, don't ever
Yep.
talk about the Patriots that way
Don't
again.
disrespect the Patriots like
Yeah, fuck you, you
Dude,
fucking
That's a crazy
knob
thing
gobbler.
to say.
What a fucking knob gobbler, dude.
Like,
Just go back.
yeah, I mean, you're wearing the Raiders logo.
Yeah, he's a
you're leading
bitch.
this team. You're no longer a Patriot
Yeah.
at that point.
Like I've always said, like I'm a huge Gators fan. If my daughters get like a basketball scholarship to Florida State, I'm gonna be in there going, oh, like fuck that, dude. No
Yep.
way, no way.
All right, so hear me out real quick because I have an observation here. Josh McDaniels. So obviously Kevin James played Sean Payton in that Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels is playing Kevin James playing Sean Payton. That's kind of how I see things. I saw a picture of Josh McDaniels like kind of standing. He's like just kind of this face, and I was like, God damn, he looks like Kevin James. And then it just like, boo, 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 boo. Like, what if behind the scenes of Kevin James playing Sean Payton, starring Josh McDaniels?
Yeah, and then Todd's in the boardroom
Look,
of an MGM studio.
I'm an independent writer for films, fellas. I'm not on strike. I could write you that movie in a heartbeat.
Nominees for
Scab.
best independent film.
I haven't written a script in 32 years, but I'll fucking start it. If anybody
Yeah.
wants to give me a phone call, I can
Absolutely.
rank that movie.
I'll make sure to head out to Cannes to watch it too. All right.
I like it. That's a nice nice film festival reference there. That was good.
You're
Nice.
welcome. All right. The Monday night game should also be a huge snooze fest. We've got the Broncos headed to Buffalo. Anybody have anything to say, or we just all take? The
I
Bills,
think
or-
I think Buffalo continues to be the team from preseason to week 10 that we pegged correctly. They're going to stomp on the
Pegged.
Broncos.
Nice. Nice.
No, I
Yes.
think this is exactly the game that Buffalo's going to play. They're going to look good. Josh Allen is going to have like 3 touchdowns. Diggs is going to have 100 yards. They might throw the ball to Gabe Davis, and the and then everyone after this week is going to go, I don't know, don't sleep on the Bills yet. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm sleeping on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Bills are going to roll this week. That's
Yeah,
what
they're
they
going to
do.
put up 40. Give me the Bills.
That's what they do. That's Bills football. If you don't like it, you don't love Bills football.
Yeah, Super Bowl contenders after beating bad teams. That's
They're
always
not
the
a
talk.
contender to me.
You know, it's what's funny.
I'm just saying that's kind of how it
Yeah.
goes. Kind of like you said.
That's the motto. Yeah.
when Corey was on that the Bills Mafia podcast on Friday, there was a lot of Corey. So obviously he's in the same setup he's in now, and a lot of the comments that came in, Corey kept doing this a lot, where he'd go, and then he would go back forward and try to talk, and then he would like kind of reel himself back because he knew he was about to just do a little shit roast on the Bills. He's like, whoa, let me just ease my way into it. But
Very
there were a
astute
lot of
observation.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
but there were
or-
a lot of times where he made that comment of like, hey, the Bills aren't this, and that. And it was just like 30 comments. Bengals defense is horrific. Like the comeback was always consistently like, yeah, but the Bengals started off 1-3. It was wild. But it was I give
The
Corey
delusion
kudos
is
for-
real.
Yeah, I give Corey kudos for just every time he had to do a little reset, he just went.
Well, even
Sometimes it's a
even
little tough to get a word in.
yeah, and even I hit up our buddy.
Now you guys know what I feel like.
I hit up or I'm sure I know what Todd feels like. Or I know what Todd feels like as I consistently interrupt his points every single fucking week. But
I'm long-winded. It's not a big deal.
the also just like hit him up after the game, like, hey man, good game. I told you the Bengals defense is legit, and the response is just, no, the Bills played bad on offense. It's like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, it's over. I think the window has closed pretty rapidly for the Bills at this point. That said, they're going to absolutely dominate the Broncos.
And I believe they technically have the toughest remaining schedule.
They do have the toughest remaining schedule now. At
Yeah,
this
Who's that,
point,
the
in the
Broncos
season.
or the Bills?
The Bills.
the Bills.
Yeah, they have
So
a
their road
gauntlet.
to get to their road to get to the playoffs is kind of a shitstorm, and they dropped a couple early on that they should have had that it
Patriots,
wouldn't be so bleak
Jets.
for them. Yeah, so yeah, I guess I was looking at the schedule after I read that, and I'm like, shit, they could.
Good news for the
almost go
Bills.
8-9.
Good news for the Bills. I took the under on 10.5 this year, but I took them to win the division. The good news for the Bills is new fraudulent enemy number 1, Miami Dolphins, are in their division. That's the good news for the Bills. Miami is the most fraudulent team in the NFL. They have zero interest in beating a contending team or a good team. They have no interest in doing it, and they haven't until they demonstrate
I thought
otherwise.
they played better than I anticipated them playing last week against Kansas.
They were in the driver's seat to win that game from the second half on, and they blew it.
And they blew it. They blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Patrick Mahomes looked terrible in the second half, and they didn't execute. Hats off to the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense is right there with the Ravens Browns in terms of best defenses in the league right now. The
Yeah.
Chiefs defense is playing lights out. Their offense, it needs to figure out what the fuck they're doing. Just get Taylor Swift at every game. Apparently, I don't know what the fuck is going on there, but when she's not there, they don't play well. It's just a statistical fact at this point. But the Dolphins have yet to demonstrate to me that they can go out and beat a legitimate team, Bills included. Even the
but
Bills.
they're not going to need to, Corey. Their schedule after the bye is Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Titans, Jets.
Fair enough.
They'll win 11 games.
Fair enough.
If you're talking about winning the
maybe
division.
they'll win 11 games. They'll host a playoff game and get bounced in the wild card.
Sure. But the Bills are 2 behind right now, and if that is who the Dolphins are, they spotted themselves in a good spot.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's a good
Fair
point.
enough.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. All right, boys. That's podcast.
That's great. I had a couple of interesting things that talked about fading Aaron early on here, and we're different on 4 games this week, Aaron. 2 of which I get the home team, Pittsburgh and Tampa. Pittsburgh over Green Bay, Tampa over Tennessee. One of them you took the Cardinals, and the other one the Jets. It's going to be interesting. Not to say that I have a lot of stock in the fucking Falcons or the Raiders, but it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big shakeup in the standings here.
Wanted to pose a question to you boys, unless we're pressing to get the fuck out of here, Bobby. I understand you might have to work early. I wanted to pose a question. If let's say Joe Burrow plays at this level, is he an MVP for the rest of the season? If he plays at the level he's playing right now, is he MVP candidate at the very least?
Not if Lamar and the Ravens keep playing the way that they are.
Fair enough.
I think Lamar right now is the MVP.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Candidate, sure. That's fine.
And you're also talking about a wide receiver that could potentially touch the 2,000-yard mark.
So it's tough for a wide receiver to win it. They would have to touch the 2,000-yard mark, I think, to do it. MVP is we've classified it now as best quarterback,
and then it's
award,
like offensive player of the year is.
But at the same time, like that is kind of true in the sense of the way that the NFL is right now, whereas the quarterback is literally the most valuable player.
Yeah.
And I think I think Burrow has demonstrated his value pretty clearly in terms of that. Final point I wanted to make, we said deja vu with the Bengals in terms of, it looks like they're right back where they were last year. Unfortunate news for the rest of the AFC. They're actually better. Last year they were 4-4 through 8 weeks. They're 5-3 now.
Yeah, but the division's better this year.
They're 5-3. I don't know that they are. I think there's a couple of teams with inflated records in there, and I think
no. I'm like the AFC North is really what I mean.
I think there are 2 legitimate contenders in the AFC North right now.
I think it's a fair statement.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't trust the Browns offense at this point. And I could say the same exact statement for the Steelers. I think that we talked about the statistical parts of the Steelers. Deshaun, I need more out of him to be like, yep, these guys can win. Because if Deshaun can play, and I need to see it not against the Cardinals, but if Deshaun can play like good football, the Browns are right back there in that conversation. Absolutely. Yeah. I had them as a playoff team going into the season,
I know
by the way. So
correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. Tez's comments asking how many games Burrow missed this year. He has not missed.
He hasn't missed any.
Yet.
Nope.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah, Burrow has not missed any games. I think Aaron's on the right track with Lamar. I still think Tua is in that conversation just because of the offensive production that Miami's had.
Then so does Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to be in that.
Yeah, I was going to say we had this conversation 2 weeks ago. I'd probably say Tua.
What about – so are we fair to say that Patrick Mahomes absolutely is not in that conversation right now?
No,
he's top 5 in interceptions.
I think a lot of the times that –
So is Jalen Hurts.
The award is a lot of times more narrative than it is about – like it's a lot hard. Once you've won it, it becomes that much more difficult to repeat it. Lamar has had at least a good amount of time between the last time he won. Yeah, exactly. And real quick before we go, I'm curious because I'm on it. I have Miles as Defensive Player of the Year right now. How do you guys feel about that?
I don't disagree with that at all. On the best defense, he's the most impactful player on that defense. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's absolutely a candidate. Well, I mean, there's a lot of football between now and then. So obviously we're throwing flares in the air and seeing if any of them signal a voter. But at this point, we're just kind of throwing names out there of guys that are like, hey, keep an eye on this guy. And also from fellow degenerates out there, take a look at the line and see if there's any value in these bets and throwing it out there, because I think the Ravens have demonstrated a really good ability to play really, 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 really good football at the beginning of the season the last couple of years and kind of tail off towards the end. Now, given a lot of that due to injury. Lamar has a contract now, so I think his ankle is a lot better magically. And that might not be the case this season. But the Ravens just have kind of flustered out towards the end of the year, mostly being hurt and impaired by a lot of injuries. So we'll see. I think if Burrow keeps playing at this pace, he is the best quarterback in the last 3 weeks. It's not even close. Like statistically, he's played better than anyone. It's not even close. And if he's able to maintain that, he's absolutely in that conversation. Like Aaron said, if Lamar maintains that pace and the Ravens offense,
he started in too much of a hole that he needs somebody ahead of him to stop.
Sure. Yeah, sure enough. Yeah.
As even there, McCaffrey. Yeah.
Touchdowns in a streak is good, but like against the Bengals, for instance, he only had 59 rushing yards. It's like I don't even think he's on pace for 1,500 this year or anything like that. Like for a running back to win it, it would need to be similar to that of a wide receiver, right? You need to have a pretty
still a lot of football left, though.
Tons.
Still a lot of football left.
And Bobby's tired. Let's wrap.
I am tired. I also have to be up in 5 hours.
Yeah, that's insane.
I would like to get some shut eye here, boys. But chat, as always, thank you guys for swinging through and being a part of the stream as usual. You guys are amazing. We'll see how this week shakes up. We've got a lot of differences in the picks, so should be an exciting week. As always, best of luck to you in your fantasy leagues. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday at 8:30.
The Falcons are going bowling, baby.
See you guys.